were doing when we requested you to go out, because it's important that you must know. We had to deal with housekeeping issues here. Before you were released, there were issues that were validly raised by members of parliament, members of this committee, regarding the statement that was presented before this committee and before yourselves. Its quality had to be enhanced to meet the standard that the committee has set. And at the time we requested you to recuse us was because we wanted to satisfy ourselves that whatever product that will be presented here before you for the purpose of resuming the proceedings is exactly that. So the senior counsel has consulted with the general, and they are satisfied that the document that they are presenting before the ad hoc committee, which will also be circulated to yourself, is in accordance with our expectations. So I want to welcome you back again, General Mkhwanazi, and thank you for your patience and your cooperation. I'm going to take this opportunity and give it to the senior counsel to present this statement that has been revamped.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and honourable members of the committee, and to everyone present, and to the people and media. Apologies from our side, the evidence presenters, for the delay and the inconvenience caused, and we also thank the General for his patience and his cooperation. And thank you for the opportunity to meet with him again, to consider and to consult about some of the issues that were raised before the adjournment. We have amended the statement, the original statement, by deleting reference to initial and supplementary, deleting that, and also at the old paragraph 8, we've amended it to read as follows. I consulted with the committee's evidence leaders on 25 and 26 September 2025. This is my statement to the committee in response to the terms of reference, where I deal with certain factual matters canvassed in Annexure NSM 3, which is the statement made before the Madlanga Commission. I include those details as an annexure to this statement. My statement, as well as the annexures included in volumes 2 and 3 of my witness bundle, encompass all my evidence before this committee. So, Chair, I respectfully submit that the concerns, the issues that have been raised have been fixed, cured, in consultation with General Mkhwanazi, and I would respectfully request that you swear him in so that we can commence to lead his evidence in accordance with his statement.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think what I should do, because you have now formally presented the statement, let me rotate between the members before we administer oath. The report that you present here is a report that the members have directed. So it will be fair that I give them an opportunity to impress on it. I'm starting with the rotation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Let me thank the evidence leader as well. The African National Congress is satisfied at the reading that the issues that we had identified as defects of this statement being a supplementary statement do seem to have been cured, as the evidence leader says. We trust that with thorough reading of the document, indeed, that will be confirmed. So we're happy to proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sango. Honorable Nombalo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we are noting the amendments that have been made, and in our view, they have been made in accordance with the instructions of this committee. So we can't postpone this any further. South Africans want to hear the general testifying before this committee. So here is an opportunity, and we can't postpone. Let the work of the committee start now.
Honorable Skosana.
Thank you, Chair. There's a small matter which we wish to put it on record. And I want to thank the evidence leader. Though it is regrettable that the senior counsel chose to open with a preamble in the morning, presenting personal opinion as thought they were established fact and citing matters of the Zondo Commission or the so-called State Capture Commission that remain contested and currently under judicial review. This committee, this ad hoc committee, in the interest of procedural progress, exercise restraint and refrain from challenging these assertions. Even more concerning, Chair, is that the senior counsel apparently disregard for this constitutional separation of power between the executive and parliament, a principle essentially to the integrity of these proceedings. Such conduct is left, if it's left unchecked, risk of undermining this committee work and setting the unfortunate precedent for the future engagements. Accordingly, the committee must be careful and consider whether the time spent under these circumstances should be treated as billable and what measures, if any, are appropriate to ensure the adherence to Parliament protocol going forward. And I wish to thank as well you, Chair, of handling this matter with caution and with the sensitivity it deserves. And I wish to thank the Provincial Commissioner General Mkhwanazi for him to be still with us. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Chair. We've gone over it and everything looks fine as was proposed. So it's fine from our side. We can proceed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. The Economic Freedom Fighters.
Let's proceed, Chair.
Thank you so much, Mkhwanazi. The IFP.
Well, thank you, Honorable Chair. I think we can proceed. We're satisfied with the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mango. The Patriotic Alliance.
Satisfied, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, honorable members. We have rounded all the the members of the committee, and the strongest feeling is that we should proceed. The next item will be to administer oath on General Mkhwanazi. Before we do that, we must put it on record. Earlier this morning, I informed you that the full member of the Democratic Alliance to this ad hoc committee, the full members are Honorable Cameron and Honorable Breitenbach. So Honorable Breitenbach, Honorable Malema and I are members of the Judicial Service Commission, and it is sitting today for the next 10 days. So the reason why Honorable Breitenbach is not here is because she's at the JSC together with the other parliamentary designates there. So the Speaker of Parliament has accordingly informed the Chief Justice about the number of the members of Parliament who will be available for the work of the JSC. And the two of us, Honorable Malema and myself, who are here, why we are unable to be at the JSC for the duration of the October interview. So I just felt I should put that on record so that honorable members and the media should know why Honorable Breitenbach is not here. And so the alternate member for the DA is Honorable Diane Kolabanat, who is standing in here for Honorable Breitenbach. Thank you so much. Let me move to administer oath on Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, the Provincial Commissioner of the Police in the KwaZulu-Natal province of the Republic of South Africa. Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, you have been invited to appear before the ad hoc committee to investigate the allegations that you have made, to provide information to the committee's oversight so that it can properly investigate the allegations that have been made, which include, amongst others, the alleged unlawful disbandment of the political killing task force or team, which is known as PKTT, alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, SAPS, and alleged corrupt relationship between senior leadership within the SAPS and members of the public, as well as political interference in the work of the SAPS. In extending this invitation, the ad hoc committee chairperson has indicated that you may provide such information to the committee, if you so wish, under oath in terms of the powers, privileges and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. You have indicated that you wish to take the oath so as to be afforded the protections as provided in the Powers and Privileges Act 2004. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or a Committee of Parliament may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament. except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislators Act, a person who willfully furnishes a house or a committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading commits an offense and is liable to a fine or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. You may choose to take the oath or the affirmation, and then I will check with you, General Mkhwanazi, if you choose to take oath or affirmation.
I'll take an oath, sir.
Then if you take an oath, you will then have to repeat after what I say, respectfully so. I am going to read the oath. So where I say I, you will then have to mention your names, because the I in this case, because it's me reading, will be referring to Malapi Soviet Lhanyana. So in your case, you will say I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I swear that the evidence I shall give. May you please repeat after me, General Mkhwanazi, or do you want me to read the whole?
I can say all of it, Chair, if you want me.
Okay, no, it's fine. So
I, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, swear that evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth, so help me God.
Thank you so much. Honorable members, here we are. I want to thank you, General, for this exercise. Are we ready, Senior Counsel? Because I'm now handing over to you to lead us.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. We're ready to proceed.
Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, General.
Good afternoon, sir.
And thank you again for your willingness to cooperate with us and to spend some time with us drafting your statement. Are you satisfied that the statement, together with the annexures referred to in your statement, is your statement that you make under oath, and that you are personally comfortable with it to swear to this as the truth?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Now, we know why we are here. It arises from the media briefing you held on the 6th of July, and that is referenced at paragraph 3 of your statement. And at paragraph 4, there's a reference to the fact that this ad hoc committee established by Parliament had asked you to present to it in accordance with its terms of reference, which you see, and that was on the 22nd of August this year. And the terms of reference, the relevant or the key areas are referenced at paragraph 6 and at paragraphs 4.1.1 to 4.1.18, which is on page 6. Is there anything in those terms of reference that you want to highlight? We are going to deal with some aspects of it relating to your evidence. But you've seen that and you're familiar with those terms of reference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now, You have consulted with us. We spent a considerable time putting together this statement. The annexes are at volumes 2 and 3, which I see it's either on your soft copy of your computer or hard copy on your left, and we'll make occasional reference to some of those annexes. However, could you, just for the record, it's at paragraphs 9.1 to 9.6, just describe to us your position currently, as well as the previous years you've spent in the South African Police Service as a police officer.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, although I did not want to bore the members with the history since I joined the service, which was in 1993, but I felt it's important maybe to reflect the position I held as a senior manager in the organization in the top executive of the SAPS, which started in 2011, that I performed the task as the acting national commissioner at the rank of a lieutenant general in 2011-2012. And subsequent to that, I had the privilege of not working for a year, but still employed in the police. And a year later, I was then assigned a division facility management as a divisional commissioner there. And after that, I was then appointed as a divisional commissioner of human resource development. And after human resource development, I became the acting provincial commissioner KwaZulu-Natal. And subsequent to that, I moved to the division operational response. And then I went back to KwaZulu-Natal as a provincial commissioner on a permanent basis, which a position that I'm still occupying until now.
So your movement up the ranks has been quite extraordinary over the years. You rank as one of our most senior police officers, and you are familiar with all the workings within, especially senior police management. Would it be fair to make that statement?
That is correct. I'm a member of the Board of Commissioners in the South African Police Service, which is the top structure of the SAPS.
You also acted as the National Commissioner in 2011 to 2012.
That is correct.
That's correct. The main reason why we are here, it relates to the issue surrounding the political killings task team. So perhaps we could just start by looking at the establishment of that, let's call it the PKTT, when, for what purpose, and how it operates, and perhaps start in 2018. We know that in this chamber, not exactly the same chamber, but in Parliament, President Ramaphosa had made an announcement of the formation of an interministerial committee in this House, and that had been set up to look into the political killings of KZN. Just talk to us about that development and what happened subsequently.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members, the President of the Republic, in his capacity as the leader of the African National Congress, he visited the area of KwaZulu-Natal called Pietermaritzburg, where a member of his political party, Mr. Musawenkosi Kashana Mkhunu, was killed. And after the visit, the president then addressed the gathering that was outside the house. And this visit was on the 18th of May, 2018.
in his address to the public, the president made announcements that he shall establish, or he has given a task to the group of ministers, and then he's given them assignment that they must come with a solution, strategies to intervene with regards in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So this group of ministers were given timeline of a week to come up with a plan of how this, or a strategy of how this matter was going to be addressed. Honorable Chair and members, I'm not quoting the president directly on his own words, but I invite the members to go on YouTube if you so wish, Google that, visit, you'll hear in your own words what the president said. And this was a Friday, the 18th. On a Monday, the ministers that were given an assignment by the president, they convened in the provincial office of KwaZulu-Natal at Bramfisher Street in Durban. And that is where the discussion with regard to the plan of how should we resolve these issues, mitigate these incidents of attacks on politicians or political leaders within the province of KwaZulu-Natal was discussed. And then subsequent to that, the President of the Republic appeared before the Parliament. I think that was on the 24th of May, where the President made a pronouncement with regard to the establishment of the Interministerial Committee that is tasked with the responsibility to develop measures that are going to mitigate these incidents of violence that is directed at politicians in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So basically, that is a background of how the whole political killings task team came about, that it was a direction that was given by the head of state to the group of ministers, which are referred to as the Interministerial Committee. And subsequent to that, the work needed to be done, and then the officials ourselves then had to get busy with it.
Thank you. Who was the Minister of Police at the time?
At the time, Minister General Cele was the Minister of Police.
So subsequent to the establishment of that interministerial committee, what role has that committee, or did that committee play subsequent to that, from 2018 through to, say, the end of 2023? I understand the last interministerial committee was held, I think, in September or November of 2023.
On frequent basis, Honorable Chair and members, the IMC will, at the beginning, when they wanted to get the status of what the police are doing in terms of dealing with this crime, a presentation was made to them by the management of the South African Police Service in KwaZulu-Natal at the time. That was done by the Deputy Provincial Commissioner at the time, because the Provincial Commissioner who was there was on suspension. And the ministers were not quite pleased with the level of performance of the SAPS at the time. We're looking at the number of cases that were brought to court, number of arrests that were effected, and as a result, a directive was that the police management must come up with a proper plan that is going to have timelines with a coordinated effort to investigate these incidents. And subsequent to that, the plan was drawn up, which was then approved by the National Commissioner, and the presentation thereafter was given to this interministerial committee, and they endorsed that. They were quite happy with it. And thereafter, they will frequently visit to come and evaluate the work that the team is doing and listen to the challenges that you are experiencing and trying and assist us to intervene in those challenges. And that's how it's been working. And every time when we meet and we give them a status of the work we're doing, they will go and then brief South Africans through the media. They will have a press conference where they give a status update with regard to the interventions they are making. So I like to believe then that perhaps they will have elevated the same report back to the president as a person who had assigned them. So that's how it's been working up until the towards the end of 2023, whereafter this interministerial committee has not set. I like to believe it was towards the end of the year when they last met, and then the following year, 2024, the country was gearing itself to go to the national elections. And after the national elections, the new ministers that took roles of that were appointed into positions of those that were responsible for this committee had never convened. So we do not know what is the reason.
So if we can just pause at the end of 2023, so up until that point, from its formation in 2018, the minister was Minister Bheki Cele, former Minister Bheki Cele.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Who made the presentation and who devised the plan which was then presented to the interministerial committee?
The plan would have been worked out by the team that was given the responsibility in KZN, which will include the officials that were there at the time, and myself as a person who was the acting provincial commissioner, and some of the deputy national commissioners that were there at the time that had to also contribute in terms of development of that plan, a plan which eventually then had to be given to the National Commission for approval. So the National Commissioner was the one who approved the plan that was developed by a different group of senior police officers that were involved.
In terms of this plan, was the PKTT then accountable to the interministerial committee?
The task team was a team that was employed to work and execute police work that had to be approved by the National Commissioner. So it was accountable to the National Commissioner, not to the IMC. But the work of the team, the successes and that the team was producing, that the National Commissioner then had to account to the IMC on the work that was done. I must just indicate, Honorable Chair and members, that at the beginning, it was only the ACPS that was mainly focused on it. But as the time went on, we realized that we're having challenges as we're presenting to the IMC some challenges, which then made the IMCs to give specific instructions to the head of other departments that are within the security cluster to also organize themselves similar to how the ACPS are organizing themselves and dedicate personnel that are going to be focused on these cases. And as a result, a revised operational working was then developed, which then was approved and adopted, and which then was implemented going forward. So the coordination, the presentation that needed to be done to the IMC will then be presented by the group of the head of departments. The National Commission of the South African Police Service, the Chief of the Army, the head of State Security, the head of the Prosecution Authority in the country, the head of Correctional Services, were amongst the heads of departments that were part of this work that was done, which they would present to the IMC in order to account.
Is that where this word multidisciplinary task team comes from?
That's correct.
It was informed by a number of other actors and state actors, for example, prosecution-led, guiding and directing the work of the PKTT to give it a more dedicated focus. Is that where that comes from?
That's correct.
Yeah. So just to perhaps preempt a discussion we might have later, or some of the honourable members may ask of you, when we deal with this directive of 31 December 2024, it will be argued that not by me, I'm not here to present any arguments, but but by some implicated, that this was a political initiative. It was a task team established and appointed to perform a particular task from time to time. And the decision to disband or to disestablish it was a political decision, and it was entirely lawful for such a decision to be taken. What would be your response to such a proposition or argument?
Yeah, I'll say they are wrong, Chair. I'll say they are wrong because a minister of police is not a member of political party. The minister of police is an executive member that is appointed in terms of the law of the Republic. He's a cabinet member responsible for policing. I don't think the legislature cared as to which political party the member belongs to. So to put a statement and say it was a political decision, what if the minister is not a politician? So I don't think that argument will stand.
Okay, so we'll perhaps explore that a bit later when we come to the minister's directive, Minister Mkhwanazi's directive of 31 December. But just to establish the PKTT as an entity. So this was, is it right? This was not a permanent structure. It was a task team that was established over initially a 6 months period, later on over a year, but it was resourced and financed from the budget of the police, in respect of which all of you as senior officers informed that budget, and it was approved by the National Commissioner. Would that be a correct or a fair summary? Or do you want to elaborate?
Honorable Chair and members, the team, as it was working, the SAPS dedicated specific funds from the national level to be utilized by this team. And it was not the budget that was allocated to the cost center of KwaZulu-Natal as a province. Therefore, it was an extra allocation. However, the other departments, be the NPA, who had dedicated prosecutors working with the team, correctional services, and many SSA and many other departments that were part of the operation, I believe they were using their own line function operational budget to execute the task. But I'm speaking under correction. I'm not sure if they had any specific budget allocation for the project. But in the ACPS, which I can speak on, there was a dedicated budget allocation. It might not have been according to what we had asked for, because the CFO needed to make money available. Sometimes we would ask for 10 million and she'll give you 5. But there was a specific budget for the ACPS. I'm indicating these, Honorable Chair and members, that so that it's understood that SAPS was using the budget, but not only SAPS was working in this team. There's NPA, there's correctional services, and there's other entities that were using budget. So I can't speak on their budget. So I'm only talking about the SAPS budget.
So would it be fair to say that this, in summary, about the PKTT, it was a political initiative that was then operationalized by or through the Office of the National Commissioner, fully funded, fully resourced by the police, and subsequently also informed by other state actors, like, for example, the NPA and others, to form this multidisciplinary team.
Honorable Chair, members, I'll beg to differ again. It was not a political decision that was implemented by the National Commissioner, but it was an executive authority decision that was executed by the heads of departments within the security cluster, which include the National Commissioner.
Okay. So, what role or what was your role within the PKTT? Did you lead the team? Were you the project leader? Or was Brigadier Khumalo was appointed the project leader? Who appointed him as project leader?
Honorable Chair and members, before the meeting of the 21st of May took place, the National Commissioner, as I said earlier when I started, that in KwaZulu-Natal, the Provincial Commissioner was on suspension. The National Commissioner had assigned me to go and act as a Provincial Commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal to oversee the province and manage the province. So in my taking up that position, I had requested the National Commissioner to allow me to take Brigadier Khumalo with me to go down to KZN and assist me with the managing of the province, which the National Commissioner approved. So on our arrival in KZN, we were there for managing the province. So when this tasking came, it was a task that was given to the province to make sure that the attacks to the political leaders in our province is somehow minimized, and we're able to deal with perpetrators and put a stop to the incidents that were happening. So by default, the Provincial Commissioner, which was myself, was part of this. That means I had to be responsible for what was happening at the time. As I said, when the plan was developed, it did not only include the Provincial Commissioner alone. So the plan was put together. As a person in charge of the province, initially, I took responsibility for it. And as I moved out of the province, it needed to be overseen throughout the process, including myself while I was out of the province, but overseen by many senior officers that were given a responsibility to oversee the working of the team. So I was a Provincial Commissioner in the province. The team was given an assignment, a responsibility to a Major General who was at the national level, who was at Detective Services. He was the one who was appointed as a project leader, and then he was assisted by 2 brigadiers. So he went on retirement, and another brigadier was then given that responsibility to take over from him. But as I say, they are accounting to the Provincial Commissioners, myself, and then the accounting was going all the way up to the National Commissioners level.
So the budget for the task team, was that allocated at national level, but the task team itself was in operation at a provincial level?
That is correct. The task team was working at the provincial level while the budget was a national budget.
And just describe the command structure and the composition of the team. Was it the officers in the team, were they only based in KZN, or were they drawn from other parts of the country, other divisions, other units?
Honorable Chair and members, the team was made out of different expertise from the different parts of our organization, which were drawn from different parts of our country as the organization is spread across, where we need to get the expertise to come and assist. Those expertise were then invited from different stations, different units in the rest of the Republic to come and assist the team.
Just to reference him, because he will also come and give evidence before the committee, did General Masemola at any, he was obviously aware of the existence of the team, and when he became the National Commissioner, he would have been instrumental in approving the budget for the team. Is that right?
The National Commissioner, when this started, the current National Commissioner was not the head of the organization, so he did not approve the budget.
But
He was one of the people that were signatories requesting the budgetary approval. But upon assuming the office of the National Commissioner in 2022, he then became responsible person to allocate funds to the project.
This team, what was its membership rotated from time to time? And if so, what was the reason for rotating the membership of the team?
Yes, Honorable Chair and members, when the team started, perhaps maybe what I must give as a background, which I didn't talk about, is that although the existence of this team started after the President made a visit in Pietermaritzburg in May 2018, but the incidence of this violence nature in KZN, it's something that was already in existence for a couple of years prior. And it was a concern already, not only within the provincial leadership or executive in the province, but it was a concern at the national level as well, because it was something that a crime that was directed towards the leaders of our society, which was a concern. And at that time, the Minister of Police sought to direct that the police must do something extraordinary to handle this. At that time, the Minister of Police was Minister Fikile Mbalula. And they had directed that some intervention must be done to try and correct or arrest this situation that seems to be getting out of control. Gerald Masimula, who's now the National Commissioner, was still a deputy at the time. So there was a tasking given to the province of KwaZulu-Natal to say KZN have special focus on cases that involve politicians. So that you can try and make sure that you improve in terms of arrest and taking cases to court. When this incident continued up until May 2018, when the Interministerial Committee came to KZN, then the committee was given a presentation on what the police were doing in terms of those cases. So the status quo that was there at the province. So they were given those presentations, and upon assessing that, it became clear that the performance of the SAPS at the time was not very encouraging. It was very poor. And it was for that reason then that the IMC emphasized the point that something else must be done to better coordinate and see the speed of finalization of cases. And when the team started working, Honorable Chair and members, as we reconfigured it into what we refer to as PKTT now, because it was a combination of different disciplines, it was not only detectives alone. Before, it was only detectives alone that were working in dealing with those cases. Now, when this team was formed, it had forensic experts in it, it had analysts in it, it had intelligence members that were working in the team, dedicated by different departments within the SAPS or divisions within the SAPS. So some of the things that were then observed, Honorable Chair and members, was that there is a lot of corruption within the South African Police Service, detective members that are carrying dockets. And the team then had to deal with trying to eliminate the rogue members within these cases, because some of members are carrying dockets, and not because of the poor investigation from their side, but it's a deliberate omission of some of the information that must be in the case docket so that the case doesn't go to court. And that led into an arrest of quite a number of police officers that were working in that team. Quite a number of them to date are still in prison. As we engage, giving this evidence with this ad hoc committee, you'll be privy that some of the members are in cahoot, those members arrested that are in prison. Some of them are now in cahoot with some of the honorable members in this parliament, feeding them with information. So when we discover that these members are this corrupt and they get arrested, and then we realize that we cannot then the risk to have more members getting corrupted or be recruited and be paid money. So therefore, it is important, we must try by all means to rotate them. So the rotation of members was then influenced by that. Although, unfortunately, it was not all the members that needed to be rotated. We'll rotate some of them and some of them will stay behind. And a typical example, it's not easy to rotate a detective when he's carrying a docket because he's an investigating officer. But what we made sure is that the detective doesn't work alone. He works with a group of other members around him or her so that we prevent any involvement in corruption, as it were. So, yeah, the rotation then took place, and the reason for that rotation was exactly that, what I've explained.
The rotation, did it take place every 6 months or every year? Over what period?
Honorable Chair and members, again, as part of, we put up a plan together and we want to roll it out and have a perfect investigation. But as we realize that we have these bad apples within the SAPS that we try to deal with, we also realize that we have a bad apple within the prosecution that we have to deal with. And we also have bad apples within probably in courts that we have to deal with. We see a case that a team initially, it was said to be going to be working for 6 months. And when the team makes arrest and the cases are brought before court, and the court will schedule a case on the month number 7, when the team's supposed to have stopped. And we then have to request the extension of the team so that the members stay on to continue these cases in court. And when the matter goes to court, when the extension is granted, it's granted for another 6 months. And when this case arrives in court on the month number 7, it gets postponed again to the month number 15, just outside the deployment date. So we then realize that this postponement with timelines, it perhaps that's a reason why they are postponing these cases to days after where the member is supposed to withdraw. We then requested to the National Commission, let's change our strategy. Let's not put timelines. Let's just keep the team indefinitely for the whole financial year. And from there, we started seeing cases being enrolled in court because then there was no end date for the team. And then the investigation started happening and cases would then being placed on the court roll.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question about the rotation, because it clearly could or did affect the prosecution of a particular case. If a member was rotated and the prosecution was still pending, it affected the issue of until when do you postpone a matter, and when the matter comes back to court, is the officer concerned now still part of the unit, or has the person been replaced, rotated? I asked the question for that reason. Yeah. So let's just talk about your relationship with Brigadier Khumalo. You know each other well? You would describe yourself as good colleagues?
Honorable Chair members, there are too many Brigadier Khumalos in the South African Police Service. Can maybe be specific?
The project leader of the team, PKTT.
Yeah, he's a colleague. The head of crime intelligence you're talking about.
Yes.
Yes, he's a colleague. I know him very well.
So, would you still describe him as he's the project leader of the PKTT?
That's correct.
Notwithstanding the fact that he's also had been appointed as the head of crime intelligence.
That is correct.
Given the very important role that crime intelligence plays throughout the service and for the country, was it feasible for him to continue as the leader of the PKTT, given this very wide and important role he has to play as the head of crime intelligence?
Yeah, Honorable Chair and members, we are giving assignment to South African Police Service because it's something we do all the time in our careers, that we are having a responsibility in terms of your line function. That's what you're employed for, and that's where you are you're drawing a salary from. But then you're giving other ad hoc projects on the side. Typical example, if I may use a current project that everyone should know about, that the head of the investigation in the province of Western Cape, which is a province that is too much in the media of late with regard to incidents of violence that are happening. But the head of investigation in this province has been deployed to France to go and assist, to lead a team in France to go and assist with regard to the investigation of the death of the ambassador. It's a temporary thing. He's going to come back and continue with this province. So it's a common trend across the SAPS. We do that.
Now, I was just asking and wondering that Brigadier Khumalo appointed head of intelligence, project leader of the team, and you're the provincial commissioner of KZN. Both of you played key important roles in leading that team. Your capacity to continue to lead the team and to play the role that you had since 2018, was it still possible to do that given your other responsibilities?
That is correct, Honorable Chair. I was in KZN in 2018 and 2019. July, I went back to Pretoria, as I said earlier. I was a divisional commissioner of operational response services, but I still had the responsibility also over the political task team during that period while I was in Pretoria.
So the record, and we're going to come to that in a moment, of the PKTT in terms of combating, fighting political killings and prosecutions. Would that have been shared with this interministerial committee when it met, I believe, twice a year? Is that right? Twice a year, the interministerial committee?
Yeah, well, the frequency of the meeting, I don't have it in front of me, but I know on annual basis the committee will meet, the interministerial committee will meet and take reports.
Yeah. And so that report would be given by the senior management of SAPS.
That's correct.
Which includes the national commissioner and his deputies and other heads of departments.
That's correct.
Were you involved in such a briefing?
Yes, I was. In many of them, I was part of those briefings.
In your capacity as the provincial commissioner, or in your capacity as the leader of the PKTT? And the role that you played there, you clearly played an instrumental role in its establishment and the subsequent work that it did. But we know also from your employment record that you were at head office and then assigned sometimes to KZN and also to the Western Cape, and so there was quite a bit of movement, but you continue to play this role within the PKTT.
Yeah, no, that's correct. I will be providing the presentation to the Interministerial Committee as the person responsible for the province in KwaZulu-Natal and responsible for the project at the time. But when I moved to Pretoria, I was not as much involved in terms of briefings. So the briefing were handled by General Khumalo in the main. Because I will also be traveling from Pretoria, coming down to KZN, and he would give the presentation as a person that was always in the province.
Yeah. So certainly at a political level, when you reported to the Interministerial Committee, they would have been aware of the work that the PKTT was doing. You would report to them whether people were being arrested, whether they were being prosecuted, and whether these prosecutions were successful or not successful. In other words, their record would have been shared with this committee at least on an annual basis.
Honorable Chair, members will always give presentation to the Interministerial Committee as on a strategic level without going deeper into the details of the investigation in terms of saying who is a suspect and who are the people intending to questions and so forth. It would be safe to just say to them, in this case, we've identified the suspects involved and we've effected an arrest on them. Is a matter in court or not in court? What is the obstacle and those things? So it was more on a strategic level as an oversight body, not bothering them with regard to the details, because that the security of the investigation needed to be protected all the time. So we did not divulge that information when we were giving them presentation.
Yeah. So you deal at paragraphs 12 to 13, what you under the subheading successes of the PKTT. Would you describe the PKTT as a success?
I will say the work that the team did was a good work, and the results that the team had achieved over time were good results that we could be proud of.
And would you say that its continued existence is justified?
Yes, that is correct. It still exists to date, and we're quite happy with the fact that they still exist, considering the fact that we are approaching elections. We wouldn't want that which used to happen in the past to start again.
Now, you made a presentation, a presentation was made, I think, by Brigadier Khumalo on the 5th of March before the Police Portfolio Committee. You attended, or rather your name was on the list of attendees at that meeting, but were you privy to that presentation that Lieutenant General Khumalo did at that meeting? And you would have also seen it at Annexure NSM 4 to your statement.
Honorable Chair, members, it is true that the SAPS appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Police on the 5th of March 2025. The presentation that was made by General Khumalo as a Divisional Commissioner of Crime Intelligence and also the leader of the Political Killings Task Team before the committee on that day was not given to me. I did not have a copy of that presentation, but I was part of that sitting of the committee. So I am aware of the presentation, of which a presentation was subsequently received after the sitting of the Portfolio Committee.
And you weren't present yourself, but a further similar presentation was also made on the 6th when the minister got a presentation from senior management in the police.
I do not know about the meeting of the 6th. Honorable Chair.
Just before we move on about the success of the team, did the team also operate outside of KZN?
That is correct.
Just give us some examples or tell us in which areas, other areas outside of KZN did they operate in?
The Honorable Chair, members, the National Commissioner gave the assignment to the team to go and assist with the investigation of cases at the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. And after that, there was also a request for the team to go and assist with the investigation of organized crime in Gauteng province. And also, they also assisted, they were invited to participate in an investigation of one case specific of Umtata in the Eastern Cape that they were assigned to assist on. So I know of those three interventions that the team made outside KZN.
And those, they were assigned to do that by the National Commissioner?
That's correct.
Okay. Just for the record, can I ask you to refer to Annexure NSM2, which is on pages 23. That is a transcript of your presentation, 23 to 31. It's in volume, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, volume 2, which is the annexes to your statement.
Matters and other cases. A total of 436 suspects were arrested and charged. 156 firearms were recovered, of which 55 of them were linked directly with a ballistic bullet through a forensic testing to the political related cases. An additional 35 suspects who are members of the South African Police Service were arrested. The notable one is the one who is now in prison, who has been working with a parliamentarian who was involved in the murder about the murder of one Cindy Somakaka. We are going to talk about that later. A total of 128 accused were found guilty on 106 cases. 29 accused were sentenced to life in prison. 40 accused were sentenced between 10 to 35 years. 25 accused were sentenced between 1 to 9 years. 23 accused were sentenced between 3 to 12 months.
And then while you have that annexure there on page 25, and this is, I reference this because this is where it appears the team operates outside of the KZN. On page 25 of that annexure, almost in the middle of the page, that sentence begins with, in the year 2024, a request was received from Gauteng, an organized crime investigating unit. Do you want to read that or discuss that with us?
Yeah, well, I can indicate that in 2024, the Gauteng organized crime unit were investigating a case. That case then resulted into the threats that were directed towards the investigation team. And that threat was also requested, the threat assessment and the support to the investigation team was also requested by the prosecutor that was working on the case. And subsequent to that, crime intelligence were invited to conduct a threat assessment in Gauteng. And when the threat assessment was confirmed against those detectives that were working on that case, then there were recommendations that the South African Police Service tactical units of Gauteng must provide protection to the members that were working on that case. And then crime intelligence decided to deploy counterintelligence teams to investigate further on these threats. And when they conducted that further investigation on the threat, they discovered that the threat was actually coming from some criminal syndicates that are running, that are within that province of Gauteng. As a result of that, then crime intelligence decided to register a case to investigate as part of counterintelligence investigation. And from there, because of this threat that was identified towards the investigators and also further assessment of the threat, there was also an identification of an infiltration of some of the members of the team that were assigned to protect these detectives. They were infiltrated as well. So when that came to the fore, identified by counterintelligence, then the divisional commissioner felt that maybe he should invite the assistance of the task team in KZN to help with that part of the investigation. That is when that engagement was made and the approval was then granted that at least 10 members from this task team must go and assist in Gauteng with that investigation.
And who would the divisional commissioner have been to make that request to assist?
It was the same General Khumalo as a divisional commissioner of crime intelligence and also a project lead of the task team, but knowing that he cannot just take members from the task team and send them where he needed to, so he had to ask for the members to come and assist on the investigation within crime intelligence.
Did that not create a conflict between his position as the head of crime intelligence and also the project leader of the PKTT?
No, it did not.
Why do you say that?
He's a police officer. He works within the rules of the SAPS. That's why I'm saying that it did not, because he did not just take members from the political task team and deploy them somewhere else. He understood that these members from the political task team, they are assigned to work specific project. So if you want to make use of them, he must ask for permission for that to happen. Hence, he approached me, and hence the request to the National Commissioner before those members were released. So that's why I'm saying that there was no conflict between the two, because he asked for it.
So in what capacity did he approach you? You at the time, the provincial commissioner of KZN.
He approached me in his capacity as a divisional commissioner of crime intelligence, because the case he was investigating was registered within crime intelligence. So it was a crime intelligence project.
Well, just looking at the statement, it wasn't it the Gauteng case? Didn't this create any jurisdictional issues?
No, the South African Police Service operates in the corners of the Republic of South Africa, so there's no jurisdiction.
But at the time when the matter was being created, this is being headed by senior police within Gauteng, and especially in the organized crime unit. Who would have been the head of the Gauteng organized crime unit?
Okay, maybe let me clarify that part. This, when he initially started, it was a case of organized crime Gauteng, which means it's a unit that falls under the Provincial Commission Gauteng. It's a one where there were threats on. The threats that even the prosecutor that was working on the case wrote a letter to the police management to make sure that the members are provided with security support. The Gauteng management requested crime intelligence to assist with the threat assessment. So crime intelligence provided, they helped them with the threat assessment, and the threat was confirmed. So therefore, Gauteng province had to take responsibility to protect these members, not crime intelligence. But because of what crime intelligence picked up when they're conducting the threat assessment, that seems to suggest that there looks to be some organized criminal activities that are behind this threat. Then crime intelligence registered a counterintelligence investigation. So it was no longer Gauteng or KwaZulu-Natal or Limpopo. It was a counterintelligence within crime intelligence that was registered in the office, at the crime intelligence office. Not under the provincial commissioner, but under the divisional commissioner of crime intelligence. So this request for the TN to come over there, it was a case that was under counterintelligence, not under the province of Gauteng. So therefore, there's no jurisdiction. The accounting executive person that accounts on that investigation is General Khumalo himself.
And to what extent would this intervention to request some of the task team members to assist in Gauteng, to what extent, or let me ask the question, did this not also engage Lieutenant General Sabia, who's the head of the detectives and all the detectives throughout the country, and in particular in Gauteng, are accountable to him.
Maybe, Honorable Chair, members, let me correct that last part.
Yeah, please do.
The JRLCB is not in charge of detectives in the country. Detectives, they fall under the provincial commissioners. So provincial commissioners are in charge of detectives. But there's a small amount of them that falls under the division, which is a divisional commissioner in charge of detectives, not the Deputy National Commissioner. But that is just correction that I wanted to make. I don't want to get deeper, Honorable Chair and members, on the how part in terms of what General Khumalo did as he was starting that investigation on the counterintelligence. Who did he engage with? Jairus Bia is his commander. Did he engage him or he did not engage him? I don't know, because I was not part of it. I'm just speaking on the third party as a person who was informed about what came about. But in terms of more detailed questioning with regard to the team, how it started and all that, I'll invite you to engage that with General Khumalo. But having said that, Honorable Chair members, I must warn you, I said this is a counterintelligence investigation. So what I know for a fact is that perhaps a joint standing committee of intelligence might be a better place to get to know the details in and out of how that investigation goes about. But having said that, I'm speaking under correction, invite General Khumalo to talk to it.
Okay, Senior Counsel. Thank you so much.
Honorable Chair.
Yeah, we are an hour since you started, and I see members have been taking notes every time you ask a question, just to check with the members if there will be any clarity-seeking question based on the questions that you have asked here. Can I rotate?
Chair, I hate to come through a point of order. Can I?
Yeah.
I think we agreed that today is the evidence leader and the general. And that if there is anything that requires agent intervention, it will be brought to attention.
Yeah.
So if no one brings anything to attention, please don't disrupt this, because no one did anything. We were fine. We agreed evidence leader today with the general, and then tomorrow we will come with our questions. Unless the general is not audible or the question from the evidence leader is not clear, then that will be brought to attention. But for now, I think we're fine. We agreed that.
There was a member who raised a hand. That is why I'm checking with all of you so that it must not appear like I'm advantaging one member. So every time there is a member who raises a hand, it becomes an opportunity to all of you to check if you want to clarify anything. Chief Whip.
No, thanks, Chair. No, I think firstly we have clarified the issue that I suppose Honorable Malema was had forgotten. There was a principal position that even today there may be instances where some among us require clarification on certain matters. But I think what was not established, I saw on the group when you were saying after an hour at 4:20, you will check whether we've got questions. I think what we did not establish is the manner in which that is going to be handled. What I suggest, Chair, in agreeing with you, is that in instances where any of us has got a question of clarity to make, let's allow that member through you, by show of hand, allow them to raise a question. And I suggest that so that we don't delay and disrupt the proceeding, you don't make it an automatic opportunity for all of us, because that on its own might delay the proceedings. But if somebody raises hands or her hand, you are perfectly able to recognize them and let them speak for that few seconds and get clarity and we proceed. Thank you.
Can I check, honorable members, during this window, there is no hand? Okay. Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. We can proceed.
General, just without wanting to get into any detail, so this counterintelligence that you mentioned to us, were you privy to that from Brigadier Khumalo? Or was that also off limits to you?
Honorable Chair, members, in this instance, we're going to refer to him as General Khumalo. He was a brigadier in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, he's now a general. General Khumalo was slowly briefing me about when he started, why he wanted these 10 members, but without giving the details. So I think as time went by, I started getting to know the details of what is happening with that investigation. Initially, I was not much informed about what was it about, but I became aware by default because of the letter of 31st of December that was directed towards affecting my environment. That's what led me to starting to get to know exactly what's happening in Gauteng.
Now, your press briefing on the 6th of July appears to indicate, and we'll deal with it in a bit more detail, that this is a national malaise within the South African Police Service, the infiltration of the service, the infiltration of the entire criminal justice system, all those allegations that you make. But you appear both at the press conference and in your statement, you appear only to reference or to refer to the examples of KZN and Gauteng. Is there a reason why you only do that, or is it also your evidence that this is widespread and is a national problem?
Honorable Chair, members, yes, I did address South Africans on the 6th of July 2025. I might have made a reference on incidents that seems to be affecting directly KZN and Gauteng, but I did during the press brief indicate that the criminality that exists does not only function within these two provinces, but it affects the rest of the country. Honorable Chair members, what informed me, part of it, we are sitting in a province where one fellow police officer was traced by criminals and killed when he arrived home. May his soul rest in peace. And when we saw what was then happening at the time, we then realized that a part of the problems that the members in the Western Cape were fighting for are pretty much involved in Gauteng. They stretch from Western Cape to Gauteng. And we have many examples of them. The late general who was in this province dealing with gangsters had traced the involvement of illegal issuing of firearms by our very own Farm Control Office in Pretoria, illegal issuing of firearms to the criminals in Gauteng. And there's criminals in Gauteng that are involved in drugs, and the drugs that the Gauteng team is part of, and the drugs that do come from the borders of our country, which it's in many provinces. And so it's not necessarily a problem that was a KZN and Gauteng province. It's a problem that involved the rest of the country.
Now there's a board that is established, which is composed or comprised of all the senior officers, headed obviously by the National Commissioner, provincial commissioners, and also divisional heads. Is that right?
You talk about the Board of Commissioners?
Yes.
Yes, there is a.
And how often do you meet?
Ideally, it sits on quarterly basis, but sometimes the meetings get deferred in case of emergencies, there are ad hoc specific meetings that are called in between.
So are or have these national or these issues which you say also applies nationally, have they been raised there? Have they been discussed there? And if so, were any strategies devised to deal with them?
Which things, if I may ask, Honourable Chair, specific you're referring to?
Well, I started off by asking you whether the issue between KZN and Gauteng and this issue where the PKTT members were seconded to Gauteng to assist, to protect, and the cartel, the drug cartel in Gauteng, whether this is only limited to that province, or whether it's also a malaise that affects the rest of the country, and you seem to indicate that is the case, and you also reference the Western Cape, and we know of the notorious gang culture here. So I'm asking whether these issues are discussed at that board level where all the senior police officers are there and you can raise these issues so that you can obviously address them, and if they are so serious that you find some way of dealing with them.
Yes, Honourable Chair and members, the Board of Commissioners has a specific agenda that it works on, and the agenda of the BOC will involve the discussions with regard to the crime in the country. We will talk about the matters that are coming from the operational section of the police, which is referred to as the National Crime Combating Forum. We will discuss matters that are coming from the administration side of the police. So majority of the issues, intelligence briefing is part of the agenda items. So matters that the Honourable the SC is asking in relation to the cases that the political or the organized counterintelligence that we're investigating in Gauteng are part of those discussions that are taking place within the BOC through the NOC and intelligence briefings, but not in details. That's on a high level. The detail part in terms of project on on operations are discussed within the National Crime Combating Operations structure.
And would there, when was the last such meeting?
The Board of Commissioners meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, I will have to remember. I've been so busy since July to date. But it did happen, I think, at the beginning of this financial year. I'll remember the date. It could probably be around June or so. There was a meeting that took place. But I can give you the date if you really want to know the last meeting.
Well, not necessarily, but I just wanted to ask or establish or ascertain whether such a meeting was held where these issues could be raised before you went public on the 6th of July.
You're talking about the issues that are raised in public. Yes. Definitely those issues were not for the BOC.
Why?
Maybe I should share the agenda item for the BOC, then it would be easier for you to understand what does a BOC discuss and what does a National Crime Combating Forum discuss, and what other different forums we have in the police, what is it that they discuss? These which I spoke about on the 6th of July were matters of strictly within intelligence space, if I can use that word, but were matters that were affecting the work of the PKTT. A PKTT only working in KZN. And the only person that will know about the works of the PKTT other than General Khumalo will be the National Commissioner. And the rest of the other people, you bring a provincial commissioner of Northern Cape, of Western Cape, and you bring the PKTT into the agenda item of the meeting that these provincial commissioners are attending, it doesn't concern them much, the issues of PKTT. So those activities that we ended up talking about on the 6th of July are experiences and things that were picked up during the investigations that were conducted at the counterintelligence operation that was running in Gauteng. And subsequent to the letter of the disbandment of the team that was signed on the 31st of December.
Senior Counsel, I have a request from the members that you should speak closer to the microphone.
Oh, it was on. Can you hear me now? Sure. Sorry. Maybe I lost my voice this morning.
The members are the ones who must indicate to me if they hear you.
Thank you. So General, perhaps it's then appropriate to move to the ministerial directive of the 31st of December 2024. Now, just before we get there, just so that we can get the chronology out of the way, up until that last interministerial committee meeting in, what was it now, September, November of 2023, the minister then would have been Minister Bheki Cele. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Would you say that he was a supporter of the PKTT?
The Minister of Police, together with the other ministers that were assigned by the president, they were quite satisfied with the work that the team was doing. I wouldn't say he was a supporter. This is no football claim. This is the police work.
Yeah. And then in 2024, we have the general elections, and subsequent to that, we have the formation of the GNU, and we have the appointment of a new minister, Minister Senzo Mkhwanazi. What was your response, if any, when you heard that he had been appointed as the Minister of Police?
I did not respond to anything. I took note.
Do you or did you know him at the time of his appointment?
Yeah, well, besides knowing the minister as the former premier of the province where I come from, but I had personally met him in his own house prior, I would say a few weeks before his appointment to the police. I was privileged to meet with him in his own house.
What was the occasion of that meeting?
It was a meeting arranged by the Chief of Staff, Mr. Nkabinde. He personally wanted to introduce me to the Minister of Water Affairs. So I drove with him into his house and we met, we drank coffee and we got to know each other. That was that.
So, but this is, when you talk about the Chief of Staff, this is
Mr. Nkabinde.
Mr. Nkabinde, who subsequently was appointed Chief of Staff when
That's correct.
Mr. Mkhwanazi was appointed. So,
Yeah.
So at the time, Nkabinde wasn't yet the Chief of Staff.
Yeah, well, I was unemployed at the time.
Was he not employed? Was he unemployed?
Unemployed. Not employed, unemployed, see.
So, and you obviously knew him, Mr. Nkabinde.
Yes, I did.
How did you know him? What was your relationship with him?
I got to know Mr. Nkabinde because he was working at IPET and he was close to the one investigator within IPET, Mr. Mahlangu, who was working with him at the time, the late Mr. Mahlangu, who was a brother to a colleague of mine who was working in the police, was a brigadier in the police. So I then eventually got to know Nkabinde through him. And then we became close with Nkabinde as well.
And Nkabinde, did he do any service in the police?
Nkabinde is a former policeman. He left the South African Police Service as a junior member as an investigator and was recruited by IPID. And he worked at IPID for many years. And then he left IPID and he was unemployed after that.
What was his rank in SAPS when he was at SAPS?
I'm not sure exactly, but he was holding a junior rank. I think he was an uncommissioned officer, perhaps between the rank of sergeant and a warrant officer. But I'm speaking under correction. I'm sure if he's invited, he'll be able to give his profile. But he was one of the junior members when he left the service.
And what was the reason that he left SAPS?
I think it was greener pastures to go to IPID. It was a higher position that he applied for.
So he became an investigator at IPID. Who headed IPID at the time?
Mr. Robert McBride was the boss of IPID at the time.
And what would have been the reason why Mr. Nkabinde left IPID? Did he leave IPID? Was he dismissed? What was his reason for leaving?
Honorable Chair and members, I wouldn't necessarily know the details. Perhaps he will elaborate on that. I can only speak about what he told me. Of course, it was not under oath. He was talking to me as a person that was close to. His words to me was that he couldn't stand the wrong that is happening at IPID. Between his boss, Mr. Robert McBride, together with a famous Paul O'Sullivan, and the current head of IDEC investigation, Advocate Sissoko. He was just not happy with how they were doing business at IPID at the time.
So he resigned, it seems, according to you, out of frustration.
What I know is that there were issues that he was resigning and they were charging him departmentally. So there was quite a fight between him and management of IPID at the time.
And in particular, did you mention a fight between him and McBride and Paul O'Sullivan?
Well, I know of Paul O'Sullivan because he was very vocal in the media against Nkabinde. So I don't know about Mr. McBride exactly what was the issue because, well, I never spoke to him. Like I'm saying, I'm taking from what Nkabinde was telling me. Whether is that the fact or not, I do not know. If he comes here and come and explain, and Mr. McBride come and explain, perhaps Mr. Sissoko, Advocate Sissoko comes and explain, they might shed light as to what was the reason and how did they part ways with Nkabinde. But what I know is that there was trouble there that involved him and eventually left him.
And after he left IPID, was he unemployed for a period or did you assist him in finding another job?
Yeah, well, he was unemployed at the time, so he was just engaging on his own. I couldn't get him a job. I'm a civil servant, so I couldn't afford to, I did not have contacts to help him get a job. But I know that he was unemployed. I just cannot remember the duration, but he was unemployed for some time up until he received that phone call from the minister to appoint him as a chief of staff, where he shared with me as well.
Now, before his appointment there, you were close friends, did you say?
Well, he was a person that I was acquainted to. I was talking to him more often. He will share a lot of things, especially with regard to the work he was doing at IPID. So I ended up knowing more about those things. But in terms of his private life, you know, what he does, I know he goes to church. Which church he goes to, I don't know. So I'm not that close to him to get to know those other private part of him. But in terms of the professional side of things, I got to know him. I said I knew him because of his colleague, Mr. Mahlangu, who was working with him. So the relationship between me and him was more of a colleague relationship we had.
Okay. And the meeting that he arranged for you to meet with then Minister of Water and Sanitation, Senzo Mkhwanazi, how did that come about? Did you know that Nkabinde has a relationship, or what was his relationship with Minister Mkhwanazi, then Minister of Water and Sanitation?
Honorable Chair and members, the Senior Counsel is asking me some of the things that is asking are not necessarily in my statement. but I will talk to it because I took an oath, although they are not here, but they can be investigated and proven to be correct. Honorable Chair members, what the SC is asking me about what Mr. Nkabinde told me about how he got to know the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhwanazi. Of course, it's something I'm going to present here, which I still need to establish myself the facts of what he had told me, which I have not finalized it yet. I'm still part of establishing the facts. But the fact is, he and Mr. McBride had flown, they took a flight from Gauteng, and they landed in Durban, and they traveled from Durban to Mpange at the minister's residence. And they went to meet the minister to go and tell him about the criminal investigation that the two of them were busy with at IPID. And it will appear that at the time that the minister might have been implicated on that case. But the two of them had somehow have some working arrangement with the minister. That's what brought the three of them close to each other. That's how the relationship came about. Well, I didn't believe much of what he told me. He mentioned that, and of course I asked, I said, but what type of a case, what is this that you were busy with? And he said there was a death of someone in KZN, and the minister at the time was accused to have interfered with it wrong. That's what made them to be close to each other. But as to the reason why they never arrested the premier at the time, I don't have the details of it. As I say, it's part of the things that I'm still making inquiries on, because he had not given me the case number by the time when he was telling me that. He just mentioned that that's how they got to know each other. The relationship started from there. To my surprise is that there is a one former chief of staff of the police, of the Minister of Police at the time, who also confirmed the same thing to me recently, not a few weeks ago. He said that Mr. Nkabinde shared the same thing with him. So that made me realize it means the relationship between him and the minister was formed out of an investigation that Nkabinde was doing. That's how they got to know each other. Because at the time, Nkabinde was not a politician, although of late I see him wearing political party t-shirts, but he was not a politician at the time.
And was it at the time that Minister Mkhwanazi was the Minister of Water and Sanitation, or was it at the time that he was the Premier? We know he was the Premier of KZN.
Are you talking about when they got to know each other?
Yeah, this other incident. I think earlier you mentioned the word Premier.
No, I'm saying that the incident allegedly happened at the time when the minister was a Premier. But I think the time when Mr. Nkabinde, together with Mr. Robert McBride, according to Nkabinde's words, not mine, when they went to meet with the minister, he was no longer a Premier at the time. So I do not know where he was a Minister of Water or was Minister of Public Service, but he was no longer a Premier when they met with him. So that's how the relationship started, the two of them. Otherwise, the minister did not know Nkabinde, and Nkabinde didn't know the minister, but their relationship started on the day.
So when this phone call happened between you and Nkabinde, was Nkabinde unemployed?
Which phone call, sir?
To set up this meeting with the minister who was then Minister of Water and Sanitation, where you had coffee with the minister. You were invited to his house.
Yeah, he was unemployed, yes. Nkabinde, when he took me to the minister. Yeah, Nkabinde was not working at all.
So was that call coming from him, or was that a request that you made of him to go and meet with the minister?
No, it was Nkabinde that wanted me, since I'm a provincial commissioner in the province and he knows the minister, so he wanted, after he told me how they got to know each other, they're very close, he wanted to demonstrate to me that they are indeed close. So I drove with him, and I didn't have a problem in getting to the minister. So that's how I got to meet the minister.
And what business did you have to discuss with the minister in your capacity as the provincial commissioner?
No, nothing. It was just get to know the minister. I'm here. I'm a provincial commissioner here. I know that you're close to Nkabinde. He told me that you are close to each other. That's why we're here today. So other than that, there was nothing else. We just sat there and we talked general, and from there we left.
What was your impression of the minister at the time?
Well, I was convinced that the two of them know each other very well, him and Nkabinde. And then, because Nkabinde told me that they are close, I had to get a confirmation on the day that indeed they are close. So that's why when the minister phoned him, allegedly, when he called him to ask him to be his chief of staff, Nkabinde phoned me and he asked me, what does chief of staff do? Because he had no clue what's the chief of staff.
When did Nkabinde tell you that he was the chief of staff or was going to be appointed chief of staff?
Yeah, he said the minister wants him to be a chief of staff. He wants to appoint him as a chief of staff, and he had no clue what is a chief of staff.
And was that before the minister was appointed minister of?
Before he was sworn in.
Before he was sworn in.
That's correct.
So how long before the minister was sworn in as Minister of Police did Nkabinde tell you that Minister Nkunu was going to be appointed?
Yeah, no, I will not remember the date. I will not remember the date. But I think it was before the official announcement was made, because it was in the evening when he phoned me.
What was your reaction?
The first was the chief of staff does administration, and I believe you're a policeman. I don't know whether you're going to deal with administration things on one side. On the other side, whether you know how to give advices on strategic issues of departments. At the time, I knew the minister was working in water affairs. And I asked him, so if you're going to give advice on ministers on issues of water affairs, I don't know what you know about that business and so forth. So then it came out later that actually he was not going to Home Affairs, was coming to the police.
So when the announcement was made that Senzo Mkhwanazi was going to be appointed Minister of Police, you were not surprised?
Yeah, well, I'm never surprised on any appointment, so it didn't bother me. It's the president that decides, so there's no expectations, so therefore there's no surprise.
Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson, may we have a short comfort break? And also the other issue I asked you offline, because we scheduled to have a meeting with General Sabia at 6. So one of us will have to attend to that meeting.
I want us to push until very late. No, it's just on a lighter note. I grant you the comfort break.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
it's just a short break.
No,
for Ms. Mkhwanazi to
I'm giving
gather
you
stuff and
the other details you will share with me. I'm giving you 15 minutes, honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General. We are going to have a comfort break for 15 minutes. Honorable members, thank you so much. The time that was allocated for the comfort break has been exhausted. So I'm going to hand over to the senior counsel to proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable members, and thank you for the short adjournment. And General Mkhwanazi, thank you. You're still under oath?
Yes, sir.
Can we move to the directive of 31 December 2024? It is annexure NSM 5.
Just before I see hands of honorable members. I see Honorable Nombalo, Honorable Sangon. Let's hear what the issues are, Senior Counsel. Honorable Nombalo.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I just want to be clear on the question and the answer that was given there too. In relation to the appointment of Mr. Nkabinde as the Chief of Staff, was he appointed in terms of the response that was given when the minister was a Minister of Water and Sanitation, or when he was a Minister of Police, or a Premier rather? And subsequently, there was a mention of an intention to appoint during a discussion that they had General Mkhwanazi, Mr. Nkabinde, and Mr. Sonzo Mkhunu. At what stage did that discussion take place? And also, the response that was not clear to me is a response on the relationship between General Mkhwanazi and Mr. Nkabinde. I think the question was asking a relationship in a context of their official duties and outside. Now, I'm not sure whether the question was only related to their official duties or outside, or they even have a relationship even outside their official duties. I just need clarity on that. Thank you very much.
You want to know the private part? Your question may be broken into 2 or 3. So please just satisfy yourself that all the 3 aspects of your question have been answered. Senior Counsel, remember you are the one who is leading evidence. So the honorable member has asked a question here, and can you please respectfully convey the question to the General?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The question from the Honorable Member, General Mkhwanazi, did you hear that one?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay, then I won't repeat it because I didn't hear it. So
Honorable Chair, maybe to try and assist, I said earlier, myself and Mr. Nkabinde got to know each other on a professional level because he was working with someone that I knew. He was a colleague at IPT, a colleague of Mr. Mahlangu, the late. Mr. Mahlangu was a brother of a former police brigadier who was my friend. So I'm friends with Brigadier Mahlangu. Brigadier Mahlangu has got a brother who's Mahlangu, who works for IPT. And that Mahlangu works with Nkabinde. That's how I got to know Nkabinde first. So the engagement in Nkabinde was always about work issues, mostly, nothing else. Until he's out of the job, then we'll start telling me about how is he trying to make the ends living and how he's trying to survive on things. So we ended up having those casual talks with him. That's why I said earlier, I don't necessarily know much about his private life, not much about his family. You know, I will know his house, I know his wife and his 2 boys, but the rest, I didn't necessarily know much about him because we're not friends to that extent. It's people that know each other. So the engagement between myself and Mr. Nkabinde and the minister only happened on a day when Mr. Nkabinde took me to Mpangeni. I drove with him to Mpangeni where we met the minister. And it was just to show that he knows the minister and there was nothing else more that was discussed. There was no promise of a job. There was nothing else. That's why I said earlier, I cannot remember at the time whether the minister was at public service or was at water or what, but I like to believe perhaps he was already at water. But because I didn't pay attention, I cannot tell you exactly definitely the day when we visited which department he was working for. But I knew that he was a minister at the time. So therefore there was no telephone calls between us in relation to his appointment. So his appointment as a chief of staff, I said at the time he was working for IPIT, he left IPIT, he was unemployed. Up until the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mkhwanazi, was appointed as a Minister of Police. That is when he invited Nkabinde to come and join him to work with him as a chief of staff. That was the first time Nkabinde got to be employed, literally basically moving from a very junior rank that he was holding in the police to a chief director position that he ended up occupying, which he occupies now, a chief director in the office of the minister. So that's why I said earlier, when he received the phone call from the minister asking him to become a chief of staff, he had no clue what is a chief of staff. He phoned me to ask me, what do chief of staffs do? Because the only thing Nkabinde knew is a case docket, because he was just an investigator. That's all he knew. So when he's invited to become a chief of staff was a shocker to him. But I ended up telling him about the amount of money is going to be paid when he gets to that position. Obvious, I did not know about other qualifications that he needed to have, but he was appointed. He became a chief of staff. He is a chief of staff now. I hope I've covered that.
Honorable Nombalo, are you fine? Okay. Honorable Sangun.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I think I've got two questions for clarity, although one might be procedural. The first one, I know that the evidence leader did ask the general why he went to see the minister, and I think the general said they wanted to meet. That's where I need clarity, because I'm interested to know whether it's normal procedure that a provincial commissioner is just introduced to ministers, or was there any other reason? And then secondly, when the general then went to see the minister, was the general aware at the time that the minister was a person of interest? Because he would have had, he would be privy to this information that is coming out. Then, Chairperson, my last question is just about procedure. I'm looking for clarity on procedure. The general in his testimony did indicate that there are questions that are being raised that don't cover the statement. Now, we've said as this ad hoc committee that we're not going to try and push anything under the carpet, but I'm worried where we are going to constantly be encountering testimony that is not in the statement. Now, will we be getting a supplementary statement, for example, on those issues so that when we engage them, we would at least have them on the record? Thank you, Honourable Chairperson.
The Senior Counsel.
Chair, on the last aspect, Honourable Member, or do you first want to deal with the first part of your question?
Yeah, if you can please get closer to the microphone.
We did discuss, and I touched on it in our opening statement this morning, and we raised it with General Mkhwanazi in our consultation last when we recognized him ahead of yesterday, that I will from time to time ask him about matters or issues or questions that doesn't arise from his statement, for the reason that again this procedure or process is different from Madlanga. General Mkhwanazi is going to appear here today, and tomorrow honourable members will ask him questions, and then he will leave. Whereas at Madlanga, he has given evidence there extensively, he will have to go back to the commission to be cross-examined by those implicated by him in his evidence there. And also those implicated by him will get an opportunity to give their evidence to the commission and also be cross-examined, presumably by the evidence leaders. We here, before this committee, we don't have that luxury. I have put to General Mkhwanazi, and certainly he indicated to us that he doesn't have a problem with it, that we will also put to him, in fairness, the versions of other persons who are implicated by him in his evidence for him to respond, which is not necessarily in his statement, Honourable Chair.
I'm noting your hand, Honourable Malem. Let's allow the senior counsel first to facilitate for. Okay.
Chair, I really don't understand how you want us to proceed. Because it must be on the basis of technicalities, audibility, and things like that. If you're going to allow them to ask questions, we're going to ask questions. Don't do that. We agreed each member is going to get 30 minutes tomorrow. And if they ask questions now and tomorrow they ask questions on their 30 minutes, they've got 35 minutes. Are you going to afford me that? Please don't do that. The last question Honorable Sangoni raised, it's a proper question. It's a clarity, it's a procedural matter that, okay, now that this thing is not in the statement, what do we do with it? And the senior counsel clarified it. And that I accept that. What the general is being asked about is his relationship with Nkabinde, which is covered in the annexure from Madlanga. He spoke about Nkabinde in Madlanga. So remember, we've got this main statement, we've got annexures, and we can ask questions based on all of those annexures that are here, if you have gone through them. There's nothing irrelevant about that. But to ask the questions of why do you go to a minister? Is that a procedure to go to ministers? No, it's not clarity. It's not dealing with any technicality. It's a question that can be asked tomorrow in your 30 minutes. And if you're going to proceed like that, then they're going to get more time than all of us. And what do we do tomorrow? So it's unfair, Chair. Let the questions be on procedural issues, on technical issues. That's what we agreed on. Not anyone wanting to take advantage and we have more time at our expense. Thanks.
Okay. Can we agree that the questions will be answered tomorrow? Yes.
Chair will agree for the sake of peace, but you allowed questions from MK. But in order for us to proceed, we will stand down and agree. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Let's agree that those questions will be answered tomorrow. Can we? Okay. Honorable Novalo.
Chair, we just need clarity so that we will be clear as we move forward. Remember that asking question was on the basis of the proposal that was made by the Chief Whip of the ANC. That members can only be allowed to ask questions on issues arising from the questions asked by the evidence leader to the witness, not new questions, but on areas where we have not been clear in terms of the responses that have been given. And asking questions emanated from that. We're not asking new questions, but we wanted to be clear for our records so that when we make records, we make proper records from the correct understanding of what has been a response. So if there's a deviation from that, Chairperson, just say members will no longer be allowed to ask questions because it is a position of this meeting. And that position was motivated by the Chief Whip of the ANC.
Let me say this. I agree with the questions that you raised, Honorable Nomvalo. There is nothing wrong with that. I agree with the last part of the questions that Honorable Sankoni has raised. And her two questions that she raised first will be answered tomorrow. That's what we are saying. Is it very clear?
Can I come in, Chair? Now the question, Chair, is should we ask questions going forward emanating from a misunderstanding of what has been?
You wanted to clarify certain matters regarding the relationship that Mr. Nkabinde had with Minister Mkhwanazi. And the questions that you raised were not new questions. They were based on questions that were raised by the senior counsel. And that is why I say I agree with those questions. That is why I even came back to you to check if you were satisfied with the answers that were given. So it means if you may have questions later, you can still ask those clarity-seeking questions. Like Honorable Sangone had asked a question about procedural matters, which the senior counsel has clarified because it's a matter of procedure. But there are other two questions that she raised, which may be on the borderline. And that is why I agree with her when she says, for the sake of peace, let's continue. And I give a ruling because I don't want us to discuss the merits and the demerits of the questions. Where I stand, they are on the borderline. It may be very difficult if we may end up being polemical about them. So those questions are noted. They will be answered tomorrow. Is that fine, honorable members? Senior counsel?
Thank you.
May we please proceed?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. General Mkhwanazi, I was moving to the Minister's Directive of 31 December 2024. It is NSM 5, which is on page 78 and 79. General Mkhwanazi, we can take it as read.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and honourable chair and honourable members, this has been in the part of the bundle. So to save time, I'm not going to read it, and I'm not going to ask the witness. I just want to deal with your leave with the issues that arise from this letter. There are three: the freezing of posts in crime intelligence, the directive relating to the port of entry, and 3, the disbandment of PKTT. Any comment on why these 3 issues were packaged in this way?
Yeah, well, I'm not an author. The minister is the one who signed this. If I were to express my feeling about it, it was just strange that such strategic and very critical issues of the organization, never mind the fact that they're operational, but they're very critical, that a minister felt that it's important to send this communication in the form of a letter in this fashion, literally 2 days after the National Commissioner started his leave. And exactly almost 3 or 4 days after he parted ways with the National Commissioner, where he was with him in person in the funeral, and he never spoke about these things. So for such serious things to just be at that time of the year, be written like this, it makes one to ask questions as to why. I guess is that why question that led us here today?
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm asking you why would three such key issues that seems to, your comment, that seems to fit into this narrative of organized crime, intelligence, borders, for example, drugs and illicit goods move across the borders, and of course the disbandment of the PKTT, which is going to be the focus of our attention. But just your comment, did this also raise suspicions on your part?
Yeah, when I saw it, immediately I said, but this is very strange. I just don't understand. I'm with the minister on a Saturday, together with the National Commissioner, and we part ways, and they all say happy New Year to all of them. And on the second, then the letter comes through, and it's a letter that talks about decisions that have got serious consequences in the organization. Stop filling vacancies now. When did it become so urgent that you couldn't talk to the accounting officer when you were with him a few days back? Now, of course, when we started asking questions, because these, at the time, one did not know why these specific three areas. But as the time progresses, then we got to understand why. And it is that understanding of the why that ended up leading us into try and intervene in the manner that we did.
Okay. Now, you deal with it, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, you deal with this decision from pages 810 through to 17, paragraphs 14 to 30. I'm not going to ask you to read through it. I'm going to ask you some pointed questions that arise from it. Sorry. Is it correct that the minister had not received a single briefing from those in charge of the PKTT prior to the 31st of December, and in particular yourself and Lieutenant General Khumalo?
Yeah, well, I know now after engaging both General Khumalo and the National Commissioner that they didn't brief him, but from my side, I knew that I had not briefed him to date.
And between July 2024, when Minister Mkhwanazi was appointed by the President as Minister of Police, and 31 December 2024, there hadn't been any of this interministerial committee meetings that you had earlier described and referred to?
No, definitely, there were no such meetings.
You also saw the minister on the 28th of December 2024. What was that occasion? And at that occasion was Mr. Nkabinde, Chief of Staff Nkabinde, with him?
Honorable Chair and members, I cannot remember whether Mr. Nkabinde was there, but I do remember that the minister in our last meeting that we had with him in December, he was a functionary at the funeral of a police officer that died at Escaleni in KZN. And the Minister of Police was a functionary in that official funeral that was held there. So I was with him there. I do not know much about Nkabinde. I cannot remember.
So we're going to talk about when you learned about this directive, because as you can see, it's addressed to the National Commissioner, General Masamolo, and let me see if it's copied to anyone else. No, it's just addressed to him. So you weren't aware of this letter. We'll get to when you... but since you learned of this letter subsequent to the 31st of December, were you disappointed that he never raised this issue at all with you on the 28th of December when you saw him at the funeral?
Yeah, Honourable Chair and members, as the SC indicates that on my statement, I indicate I speak a lot, I write a lot about the events of the 2nd of January 2025 when I first became aware of this letter. My initial response from the time I saw the letter was just shocked and surprised that how can a minister write such a serious letter that is going to have so much implications in the organization. And more concern is that I had already met the minister, and I wouldn't want the executive authority to do things that is against the law. And so I have a responsibility to bring to his attention. But at the time, I felt it is important to use a shortcut because I got to meet the minister before he became the Minister of Police through Mr. Nkabinde. I know Mr. Nkabinde is the office of the minister. He had asked me what Chiefs of Staff does. So upon seeing this letter, he was the first person I called, because I believe that there cannot be any document going to the minister for signature without his knowledge. So I called him and said, Nkabinde, the minister signed a letter that says the following. Are you aware of this letter? And his response was, yes, I am aware of the letter. But according to him, the letter was going back and forth by whoever between the minister, whoever was drafting the letter and the minister. That made me believe that the minister is not the author. Someone else prepared this letter for the minister. And the minister signed it. Because Nkabinde's response to me was, after the letter was signed, after it going back and forth, then he was pressured to make sure this letter is delivered at the Office of the National Commission on the 31st. So, and hence the letter was delivered. So this was from his words that made me believe that there's someone somewhere who influences the minister to do this. I think they will give in the minister wrong advice. I wanted to correct that. That's why I felt it's important for me to plead with Mr. Nkabinde that, can you, Mr. Nkabinde, if you are coming down to KZN, you must arrange a meeting between myself, you, and the minister so we can sit down and talk about the implications of this. Because if the minister will have a letter like this that says we are disestablishing a team, there's consequences that's going to come as a result. And one of the consequences is that the minister might be seen to be defeating the ends of justice, because we're literally saying that the investigations that are currently underway must stop immediately. And that is going to have serious consequences of the minister. So I wouldn't want the minister to get to this, because I saw a risk that the minister is going to be held liable for this decision. So I wanted to address it with the minister and give him advice, using Nkabinde as a person that I know is close to the minister, and I got to see the minister for the first time through him. But unfortunately, it did not happen.
So just to summarize, is it Nkabinde who told you that the minister was in fact not the author of this letter? Is it Nkabinde who told you that there was seemingly an exchange of drafts going back and forth before the letter was finalized? Is it that caused you to conclude that there was third-party involvement, whether it's one or more persons, we don't know, and also that made you conclude that this is not the minister's handwork, it's a third party involved?
Yeah, well, it was his words when he said this letter's been going back and forth, but he did not say who is the author. When he said it's been going back and forth, being corrected. And after that, he was pressured to make sure the letter is submitted. From there, I concluded that someone else was behind this letter. And Nkabinde had to facilitate it to send it to the minister for signature.
Sorry, Honourable Chair, may my colleague be excused? We've got a 6 o'clock scheduled with...
no, I have sanctioned that, Senior Counsel. Honourable members, Maria has to leave us because they have to conclude engagements with General Sibia. Thank you so much, Senior Counsel. You can
thank you, Chair, and honourable members for the indulgence. You must have been shocked at this revelation by your good friend, Mr. Nkabinde. Given the importance of these matters, all three matters, border control, crime intelligence is huge. We know it's been at the heart of a lot of issues in our country for a number of years. These are all important, critical issues. Now you hear there's been a back and forth. The minister may not have drafted the letter himself. You suspect third-party involvement.
You know, it was indeed a concern, but I must say, Honourable Chair and members, on the day when I became aware of this, I couldn't blame Nkabinde on anything, because to me, he was honest to tell me that the letter was going back and forth, being corrected, and he was pressured to make sure that it's delivered at the Office of the National Commission. So I like to believe that, giving him a benefit of doubt, that on the day when this letter was drafted and subsequent to it being forwarded to the Office of the National Commissioner, he perhaps had no role to play with regard to the content of the letter, except to do the administration processes of it. The problem then came on the following day. When the following day, this letter, or the content of my engagement with him, appeared in the social media somewhere, that I threatened the Minister of Police with arrest and so forth, because I had said that if this is going to be implemented like this, the minister will be accused of crime, and that might end up bad towards the minister. So let's fix this. That was the exact same day when this letter was leaked. So unfortunately, the following day after talking to Mr. Nkabinde, the conversation between me and him was twisted somehow in the social media, but it landed in the social media. So then we had a conversation the following day where he said to me he believes his phone was somehow been tapped by someone was listening to our conversation and so forth. He did not share the conversation with anyone. So that's when I started asking myself questions about Nkabinde himself. Because I'm engaging with him a day before, the following day, our conversation is on social media. It made me realize that perhaps he's the one that leaked it. Honourable Chair and members, I then am not going to talk much about what I became aware of most recently, that indeed Nkabinde was instructed to record me at the time. Instructed to record the conversation between me and him. So it means when I was talking to him, I was recording, and he would have shared that recording to someone. That's why that recording ended up in the social media the following day. But it was no mistake.
Can we just clarify this? You don't have copies of what was on social media?
No, I don't have it with me, but I can try and trace it. But there were a lot of, at the time, there were a lot of communication that was out there on the social media, but I can try and see if I can research, but I don't have anything with me here.
Yeah, because what I think we would also like to know is whether what appeared on social media, is it actually exactly the same as what was recorded in your conversation with him allegedly?
I can tell you, not all of it, but by and large, the conversation between me and him was there in the social media communication.
And forgive me if I'm offside, just tell me or ignore the question. But did I also understand that there's an allegation that when you spoke to Nkabinde, you had threatened the minister.
I was warning Kabinde that if this letter, with its content the way it is not withdrawn, and the work of the police in terms of investigation come to a halt as is directed by this letter, this is going to have consequences towards the minister. Because the minister has got no jurisdiction in stopping a criminal investigation that is running. So this letter is literally saying that this team must stop with immediate effect. I'm not quoting verbatim, but it is basically, the task team be disestablished immediately. Those are the words. So if you are saying that, you are saying, if the case is in court, stop working. If the case is an investigation, stop working. Just stop everything at once. That's the consequences this letter has. So I was warning Gabin that you better make sure that you, and the minister sit and talk about this. Because I don't know what is the circumstances that led into Mr. signing it, but the implication of the letter will land the minister in trouble. So it was there that the following day, which appeared on social media as if I threatened the minister when I was communicating with Mr. Gabin.
So did you see either the whole or part of your discussion on social media yourself, or was this reported to you by someone that what is this that appeared on social media and you then saw it?
Yeah, well, I saw the communication. I cannot remember how it came to me, but I saw that communication of what was out there that was spread.
So did you speak to Nkabinde either on the 3rd after this appeared on social media or afterwards?
Yeah, we've been talking. Afterwards, we've been talking up until most recently. I think after my press briefing, then we pass each other now. We don't talk to each other.
But what has come from your discussions or talks with him? He appears certainly, with respect from what you're telling this honourable committee and us, that he seems to be a central figure in all of this.
In all of what?
Well, the letter, and you say that he knew there was a toing and froing of the letter. He also told you that he was pressured into getting the letter out on the 31st of December, is on New Year's Eve, which in itself sounds, I don't think one needs evidence on this. It sounds really odd that on New Year's Eve, such an important document is released. So I'm asking about his central role in this, his appointment as Chief of Staff, when according to you, he's not even qualified for this role, doesn't have the qualifications. I must confess, I don't know what the qualifications might be, but I suppose we can look that up on the public service regulations, what it entails. But it sounds to me that he wasn't quite qualified for the job. So that's why I'm asking you to comment on that proposition, that he seems to be quite a key figure in all of this.
Honourable Chair and honourable members, it sometimes can be dangerous to express your opinion about something that you don't have facts on. Since the S is asking me my impression, the impression I have is that Mr. Nkabinde was recruited or was appointed by the Minister Chief of Staff, and he had no clue about what Chief of Staff does. So he had to adjust in the office. He had to learn as he was going. That's why I know that the other former Chief of Staff at the office of the Minister can come here and testify that he also phoned him and seek advice as to what does Chief of Staff do. And he also had to coach him about what Chief of Staffs are doing. And so he had to adjust as you learn as he was going. And I think that's why even he started learning politics, because he was never a politician. So I see him today with T-shirts of political parties, which I don't think he even understands what it takes to be a politician. So he adjusted as he was going along to please his boss.
Learning on the job.
Yeah.
Okay. But what I'm curious about, and what I think many of us here would be curious about, is you continue to engage with Nkabinde. despite clear shortcomings that he has in that post, despite the critical role he plays in that post. A chief of staff presumably is very close to, that's why you appoint someone chief of staff.
Honorable Chair and all members, these things are happening. The letter comes out, I speak to chief of staff, and after that he said he tried to secure a meeting with the minister, is not able to, and next thing he says to me, no, he did not release the information that I was talking to him about. Perhaps someone tapped his phone or something like that. So I had no reason not to believe what he was telling me. So all the time, even when we meet in meetings, because the person I know, so we'll engage. As the time went by in this first 6 months of the year, I started getting more information about his role that he plays in some of the meetings, how vocal he becomes in some of the meetings, and which was strange to me, but he's got no role there. How does he become this vocal? So slowly then I started monitoring his social media and then WhatsApp status. Then I started realizing he's no longer the man that I knew he was, because, as I say, he's now a politician. He talks about politics and he displays T-shirts of political parties, rallies and all those things, which is now away from what the chief of staff is supposed to do. And that's when I started realizing that maybe is what I'm hearing about his involvement, about interfering with police work, might be true as the time progresses. Until such time that eventually we started picking up other evidence. I think when I went public on the 6th of July, the lines were drawn between me and him. So we never really engaged after that.
I think you've answered the question that initially you were reluctant to answer. You don't want to express an opinion on Gabinde.
No, I said it's sometimes it's wrong to express an opinion without facts. But since you asked me the question, and I felt maybe I can express opinion because this is my observation. So I'm qualifying it like that, and it's my observation. But I'm sure those from the political party that he markets the lot, they might want to go and check when did he join them and when did he become a member for him to be that active.
So there are interactions between you and him after the 3rd of January leading up to the 6th of July.
We've been talking together up until the press briefing happened. We've been talking. We stopped communicating after the press briefing.
Well, did he say anything further about the letter? Did he say anything further about any of the 3 aspects in the letter, especially the disestablishment? I think that's the word that was used, the disestablishment of the PTKT. Did he say anything about it?
Honorable Chair members, there's been a lot of engagement between me and him in between. There will be conferences, summits, there and there, meetings, BOC. So we come across. There will be gatherings, the minister is there, he comes with, he's part of the staff, so we talk. That's why you'll see later when I talk about on my statement about the Mr. Mkhwanazi that phoned me in October last year. I phoned Gabinde to ask Gabinde, so he told me about who Mkhwanazi was. I didn't know Mkhwanazi, it's him that told me about Mkhwanazi. So there's been a lot of conversation between me and him. And the last, I think, heart-to-heart talk we had with him, we had at Beachwood Hotel in Johannesburg, and he accompanied me into the car. When they were, I think the tensions were growing already in terms of after this letter, as the team was trying to figure out and the team working out and what they were picking up. And I had an engagement with him there when he said, hey, I don't know anything about what's happening. And I said to him, boss, truth always comes out. So whatever that is happening right now, it's going to come out. So you better be on the right side of the law. I hope you're not going to get caught on the wrong side. That was my conversation with him in Beachwood Hotel. So that was a heart-to-heart talk. Other than that, we'll just meet and greet, hey, how's it? We just talk on the G. And we end there.
And you mentioned that did he appear to know Mkhwanazi well?
No. That time when I phoned him about a person who had contacted me as Bran Mkhwanazi, he's the one who told me that, no, he's a person who's very close with the minister. But he said he's not working for the department. is not employed in the ministry, but he's close to the ministry.
So he's the person who told you that Mkhwanazi is very close. Is that did you?
Yeah,
very close to
that was his word. But that's why I even asked him.
You alleged on the 6th of the 5th of March, when there was an appearance before it was online, the appearance before the police committee of Parliament of Mr. Cameron, when you alleged that Mkhwanazi was an associate of the minister.
Yeah, that's correct. I was quoting on what I learned from Mr. Nkabinde.
So you got that from Nkabinde?
That's correct.
Did you have any engagement with the minister after the 2nd of January? Did you contact him? Did you phone him? Did you write him? Did you go to his office to ask him to explain why he issued this directive?
My main concern, Honorable Chair and members, the engagement I would be having with the minister was always work-related, in meetings and so forth, but not specific about the letter. I tried with Nkabinde to meet with the minister so we can talk about the letter, and it did not happen. I tried with the National Commissioner to ask him to secure with a meeting with the minister so we can talk about the letter, and it didn't happen. Until I had to ask the honourable member, Mr. Cameron, to invite me to come to this committee, portfolio committee, so that we can be able to address some of these issues that I'm seeing happening. And yes, we arrived and we spoke about it, but the minister just put a cold shoulder on it. He didn't take it serious. He simply says, no, well, the person that Mkhwanazi is talking about, I don't know the person. So it just ended like that. So those are my efforts. I had actually, even before coming to the portfolio committee, if I'm not mistaken, no, after, I sent the minister WhatsApp directly, where then I was pleading with him that, Minister, can we meet? And it was, I must say, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, the WhatsApp, I think I will have shared it in my statement.
Yeah, the WhatsApp, General, is NSM6. Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, NSM6 at pages 80 and 81 of the annexures bundle. Which one?
That's correct. Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, this was my effort to try and reach out to the minister as I was observing what was happening up until April. Then I realized that it looks like everyone is failing to secure a meeting with the minister. Let me try on my own.
Can I please? I think this is important. This is a WhatsApp sent to the minister on the 5th of April. Can you have you got it there, General?
Yes, I mean.
Can you read it into the record?
Sawubona Minister, that's a Zulu greeting. Please forgive. Yeah, my bad writing there. Please forgive for writing this message directly, but I feel that I must respectfully request a meeting in order to deal with internal issues within our organization which affects me and my family and has a potential of destabilizing our crime-fighting efforts. I tried to reach out through Nkabinde in his private capacity early in January this year. And late, I spoke to him in his capacity as Chief of Staff. And again, I had a special request to the National Commissioner to try and secure the meeting before appearance before the Portfolio Committee on Police. This situation is escalating, and it has a potential of demoralizing our hardworking members. And there are even politicians that are using these social media posts to sow divisions within the SCPS. I do not like what's happening. Hence, I feel that the minister must call us into a meeting so that we can iron out everything that is dominating the media space. I do not like what's happening. Hence, I feel that the minister must call us into a meeting so that we can iron out, I think that's a repeat of the previous page, iron out what is dominating everything that is dominating the media space. It is my plea that the minister calls the National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Sbiya, Lieutenant General Khumalo, myself, Major General Khan, Mr. Nkabinde, and Mr. Brown Mkhwanazi, in order to get to the bottom of the problem. It is the prerogative of the minister to invite the executive director of IPIT if he feels it's necessary. I have requested to take a vacation leave tomorrow and Friday, but I can make time if the minister decides to meet this week. I hope my request will be favorable. And the response from the minister reads, your WhatsApp message was received, will revert at some point.
Did he ever revert at any point?
Not at all. To date, I'm still waiting for the minister to revert to me. In actual fact, Honorable Chair members, there was a meeting that the minister had called between myself and General Sbiya in his residence in Pretoria. And in that meeting, he acknowledged that he owes me for this meeting. He said, I know that I'm supposed to meet with you as per your request, but today I did not invite you for that. I invited you for another meeting. So that was the closest ever he addressed this.
And what was the date of that meeting?
Honorable Chair, I cannot remember exactly the date of the meeting. I don't know if I have it on my statement, but it's a meeting that we held in Pretoria. I cannot remember the date. I'll be lying. Should be in May somewhere, but if I'm not mistaken.
So in relation to the disestablishment of the PKTT, your evidence is that the minister never consulted with you, let alone contacted you or Lieutenant General Khumalo before his decision to disestablish the PKTT on 31 December 2024. And neither did he meet with you, discuss with you, let alone consult you on his decision even after the 31st of December 2024. Does that summarize your evidence?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Honorable Chair and members, that in as far as I am concerned, the minister never engaged me. But I've learned later, at the beginning of this year, that there were engagements that the minister, had with both the National Commissioner and General Khumalo. But I was not invited into those meetings. The last one being the 6th of March, immediately a day after the appearance at the Portfolio Committee. They had a meeting which I was not invited. And I think there was subsequent a meeting after that, which was the last meeting I'm told that they had.
Yeah, there was a meeting on the 5th of March, the 6th of March, 27th of March. You were not invited to any of those meetings.
On the 5th of March was a Portfolio Committee.
Sorry, the 5th, you were here.
Yeah.
Well, it was an online meeting, but you were in that meeting.
That's correct.
But we can go to the transcript of that meeting, but I stand corrected, but in that meeting, when Lieutenant General Khumalo makes a presentation to the police committee, he talks there about the PKTT being sort of phased out and being in a state of transition. In his presentation, there's no objection to the minister's directive of the 31st. He reports to the committee on the state of the PKTT, that it was still in operation, but it was now being, I think the words he may have used was now being phased out. Do you recall that? You were online in the meeting.
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. I was part of the meeting, and the meeting was a visual meeting, and I do remember that presentation. Well, it was a shock to me, but I couldn't challenge it because I believe that the National Commission authorized the presentation to be made, which means that was an approach the National Commission wanted to take. Being an accountable person in terms of policing, I couldn't question him if that's what he really wanted to do.
And there was also then a meeting on the very next day, on the 6th of March. There's a presentation that's made on the PKTT, again by Lieutenant General Khumalo, the minister, and I think the senior management were in that meeting, to the same effect. A bit more detail is given, but to the same effect, the PKTT is being phased out. Now that you were obviously told about this, I'm not sure about the evidence leaders in the commission, but we told you about it. We showed you yeah, I think they did, because the presentation is part of the record. Were you surprised to hear that?
Honorable Chair and honorable members, the meeting of the 6th, I was not informed about it. And the subsequent meeting that happened later in March, I was not told about it. The only first time I got to learn about those meetings is upon learning that the case dockets that are in KZN have been moved to Pretoria. Even the movement of those dockets, I was not told. Until General Sentumule was at the head office, phoned me and tell me that you want to bring dockets to me. And then I asked, what dockets are you talking about? He said, no, the dockets from the team. I said, but where are they? She said, they're in Pretoria. I said, but how did they get there? Because they're supposed to be in KZN. What are they doing in Pretoria? How did you get them there? So the same way you took them, maybe you must bring them the same way, because I don't know anything about it. But then I called the members from the team to come and brief me about the status of the investigation. That's when officially they confirmed that 121 of those dockets were sent to Pretoria. But when they were taken, I was not told.
Now, you weren't told, but in what capacity did you expect to be told, or even to be asked for your permission to move those dockets from KZN to head office in Pretoria? Is it in your capacity as the Provincial Commissioner of KZN, or is it in your capacity as the person still leading the PKTT, in charge of this team?
For two reasons, but the main one is that the dockets belong to KZN. All those case dockets that belong in KZN, they are accounted for in KZN. When we appear before the Portfolio Committee on Police, we have to account about the performance of detectives, we account on every docket that is registered in the province. So for someone to decide to take the dockets and travel over 700 kilometers to Pretoria without telling me was problematic already. And so I needed to be told because of that. I'm the accounting office in the province. You can't remove something out of the province without telling me. That's the first thing. The second part, I'm part of this project. Yes, it's a national project running in KZN, but I'm part of it. So the least I must be engaged as to why there's this decision. The similar engagement that was made with me when there was a request of assigning 10 of the members from this team to go and assist in Gauteng. And the similar engagement to say that some of these members must go and assist in the Eastern Cape. So that engagement was already there, precedents created. So why now, when the dockets are taken away, that I'm not engaged? And even the meetings that are taking place, I'm not invited to be part of those meetings.
Now, what if General Sabia comes before this committee and says, but you know, he is the Deputy National Commissioner. He is in charge of detectives, and that he was authorized to issue a directive, even an instruction, to the detectives dealing with those 121 cases to bring them to head office in Pretoria.
Honorable Chair and members, there's only one person in charge of the police in South Africa. That's the National Commissioner of Police. He's the most powerful person in the country. And he delegates his responsibility to different levels. There's delegation letter that is signed that says you can do A to Z. So if the National Commissioner have delegated that responsibility to General Sibia, then I will not argue. But the problem that we then going to have is that if the National Commission is going to delegate something that is going to conflict with the legislation, then there's going to be a problem. So if Sibia were to come and argue that the dockets belong to him, or he was told by the National Commission to do that, well, that means the National Commission must come into this portfolio committee and confirm whether did he or did he not. But as far as I'm concerned, we are governed by the legislation, that the members that are before me are responsible for passing. And when they pass this legislation, they expect me and the men in blue to enforce those legislations. So if anyone then violates the legislation, we have to act as directed by these members, that anyone who breaks this law must be punished in this fashion. That's what we do. So if General Sibia were to come and argue differently to what the legislation is saying, it will mean it will have been admitting that he's breaking the law. I'll hope that when he comes here and he says that, the members are going to call him into task, because it means as a law enforcer, he does not know the very same law he's supposed to enforce.
We also know that, or let me put it this way, sorry. Is it correct that in or around May 2025, there was an attempt to return the dockets to you, and that you refused? And if that is a correct statement, that you refused, why did you refuse?
Honorable Chair and members, I've said this thing a couple of minutes ago. I'm going to repeat again, and I'm going to use an example. As somebody walks into your house, and it's Mr. Arendt's premises, you pay rates and taxes in that house, you are a boss of that house. And somebody comes to your house and remove an item from your house and travel kilometers away, and later calls you, and he says he wants to bring something that you took away from your house. Definitely going to be shocked as to what are you talking about? What did you take and how did you take it? Who authorized you to take it? So, and that's why my response to Jara Sentumule, who's a divisional commissioner of detectives, when she called me saying that there are dockets that are in Pretoria that must come back to KZN, the question I asked, but what are they doing in Pretoria? How did they get there? Because nobody told me that there are dockets taken away. So she then withdrew and said, oh, I thought you knew. Now that you don't know, I don't want to get involved myself. And then she pulled back. She never traveled from Pretoria to my office and said, Mkhwanazi, here are the dockets, and I declined to take them. She called me while she was in Pretoria. Well, I assume she was in Pretoria. I don't know where she was. But she called me. She was not in KZN.
Is that Sentumile?
Jara Sentumule, yeah. She will come here and confirm that because she called. But I subsequently, Honorable Chair members, learned that she calls me because her junior members have contacted my members in the province. And they approached them to say, we want to come and give these dockets. And my junior officers in the province said, no, we don't want to. And those that are not even part of the PKTT, those that are working in the provincial office, they said, what are you talking about? The dockets of the PKTT, we don't want to get involved with that. Talk to the provincial commissioner. We don't know anything about what PKTT does. And those junior members of hers, I think, then they went back to her and said, hey, you better phone Mkhwanazi because we're not going to call him about this thing. That's when she phoned me. So when I responded, the minute I responded, she distanced herself as well. She said, I don't want to get involved myself. I thought you knew. So she pulled back. That's why those dockets remained in Pretoria for the period.
And she told you the dockets were transported to Pretoria?
No, she didn't. We didn't talk about the transportation. She just simply said the dockets are here. When I asked her, how did they get there? She said, but don't you know about the dockets are here? I said, I don't know anything. She said, hey, I don't want to get involved. And she pulled back. So she did not explain how the dockets arrived in Pretoria herself. But later, I learned that she was not responsible for moving the dockets. She only went to General Khumalo's office to collect the dockets in Pretoria. It is Khumalo who moved the dockets from Durban to Pretoria. It was by instruction of General Khumalo to move the docket, not General Sentumule.
And Khumalo never told you all this?
He never told me. I was furious with him.
I was going to ask you now.
Yeah, I was furious with him. He simply said, there's just too much things happening. And so there was this instruction and he decided to comply with it because I think they were just attacking him left and right. Remember, he at the time he had, I would say, 3 things that he was responsible for. One is to try and get rid of these bad members that we have at Crime Intelligence, that they were there in 2011 when he was there, that are still there, that are friends to some of the members that are here, that is trying to clean up. They are fighting, they are countering that on one side. On the other side, he's trying to deal with this organized crime that is identified in Gauteng province, that involves these famous people that we see on TV every day. And it's a serious job that he's busy with. While trying to fix this, he has the political task team also in KZN that he must worry about, because he's still coordinating the work that the team is doing. And the team doesn't end with the politicians' matters. It involves the traditional leadership matters. You have the issues of fortes and the likes. So he's one man. He's got too many things on his table.
That's what I asked you earlier. I said,
but I'm not the national commissioner. But he is assigned. He could have said, no, I can't do this. I can't do that. But he was doing all of them. But it was not a problem. So while he's busy with this thing, that this instruction come that he must take these dockets, and he just complied with that. So that's why when I started investigating, and he's one of the witnesses in my criminal investigation to deposit a statement that says he was instructed by so and so to take the docket. So he's part of the criminal investigation that we're busy with. And I do hope that pretty soon we might be in court.
So in which circumstances and when did you tell Khumalo that he was going to be arrested?
I told him a day before. I told him he was here before the Joint Standing Committee of Intelligence. When I received that information that he's going to be arrested, they're going to arrest him at the airport, and they are going to come with social media. They're going to make it look bad. And what is the arrest all about? He was here when I told him. And the fact that they were going to arrest him at the airport because based on the counterintelligence operation, if I may say to the members, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, Chair, honorable members, how much of that information that Charles Khumalo can talk about in public, because it's quite a sensitive investigation. I can safely tell you, it's not crime intelligence operation alone. It's the entire intelligence of the country that are part of that operation. In such a manner that the National Defense Force is part of the security of Khumalo. That's how level is that operation. So the IDEC members knew that Khumalo is that protected. There's military people that are moving around him. They can't just grab him anyway. The only place he's going to be vulnerable is when he gets out of the airplane. So that's why they're going to wait for him there. So I told him, and that's exactly what they did. So when he boarded the flight here, he knew exactly they're going to pick him up at the airport. That's what they did.
Well, in my consultation with Advocate Johnson, the head of IDEC, she told me that the arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo.
Can you please get...
Sorry. She told me that the arrest of Lieutenant General Khumalo had nothing to do with the political killings tasked him, and everything to do with an allegation of some irregular appointment in his office or something to that effect. And that his arrest, when he was stepped off the plane, everything was arranged with him. It was done. I don't know if you call an arrest a collegial event where at least they don't pull you and drag you, but they're just waiting for you and they're escorting you, and that apparently Lieutenant General Khumalo thanked him for the way in which he was treated, the way he was handled.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, I've said a lot when I appeared before the Madlanga Commission. I've said a lot when I appeared before South Africans on the 6th of July, 2025. I'm here today at this hour talking about the same thing. And I'm going to confirm again to the honorable members that IDEC is divided into two. The very same institution that these members established in this house is divided into two. The section that I will refer to as a rogue section of IDEC is the one that effected an arrest on Khumalo. IDEC has got good men and women that are working there, under the very same leader, Advocate Johnson, who are responsible for cases that are serious, that emanate from the state capture, amongst others. If IDEC is honest, if Advocate Johnson is honest, he's going to come here before this committee and take an oath and confirm what I'm saying, because what I'm saying is not a lie. I'll prove it. I want to invite these members to get a profile of the arresting officer of General Khumalo and the team, Mr. Padayache. Get his profile. You're going to know that Padayache is an ex-crime intelligence member who has never touched a case docket in his life. But IDEC employed him as the senior investigator responsible for the arrest of Khumalo. He's the one who's a boss in that case. This is a person who's now employed to work in an entity of government that is charged with the responsibility in terms of the Amendment Act of the NPA, that they must deal with serious and complex cases. Well, I don't know whether is it serious and complex case to arrest people for having sat in the panel, like you are sitting here, and you make recommendations to the higher structure that is going to appoint. You facilitate this process at a committee, you are taking it to Parliament. The Parliament will take it further. In the police, a committee that is arrested, it's a committee that Khumalo is part of. One of the charges is that Khumalo manipulated by forming the committee himself. It is before the court, Honorable Chair members, that Khumalo did not even recommend that panel. It is General Madondo who signed a letter to the National Commissioner to recommend a panel where Khumalo was included as a member of the panel.
So General Mkhwanazi, you are aware, because I put it to you, but you're clearly now aware that is at least the reason given why he was arrested. It's this whole appointment
That's exactly
process. No, that's the reason that they give. Because I put it to you that Advocate Johnson had told me it had nothing to do with the political killing stars team.
If I were to have an opportunity to sit where you are sitting, SC, and Advocate Johnson is sitting here, I'm given an opportunity to cross-question her. I'll prove it to this House that what she told you, if she did say that, it's a lie. The Khumalo's arrest is a project. It's a project to counter the criminal investigation in Gauteng. This letter of the minister, the close of the task team, it's a project that is aimed at stopping the criminal investigation in Gauteng. So why I'm demonstrating this to you is that here is a group of members from crime intelligence that are arrested for having sat in the panel. The portfolio committee chair and the members in the portfolio committee will tell you what is the process in the SAPS in terms of filling of vacancies. So you ask yourself whether did these ones do something different to the process? The process, if I were to tell the members that the head of HR in the police, on behalf of the National Commission, they will send you a letter. They will say, this post has been advertised. Make recommendation of the panel members that must be in the panel. You submit as an accounting officer the recommendations to the head office HR. Head office HR decide whether your submission and your recommendation they're in agreement with or not. It is that office that approves the panel, not the line function manager. I'm a provincial commission, I don't approve a single panel of such levels of brigadiers. I deal with the ones junior. But allow me to explain, SC and honorable members, that the process is established in organization. So Khumalo and the team, it's a panel that is appointed by the National Commission of the Police. If Khumalo did wrong and the team did wrong in the panel, their recommendations goes to another moderating committee at the national office, at the National Commission's office. There are lieutenant generals that sits there, including head of legal service. They moderate the work that the junior committee will have done, and they agree with it. So if they agree with it, then they give it to the national commissioner, he appoints. So if IDEC arrests, they're supposed to have arrested all this chain. But because they're not interested with the others, they're interested with these ones. It was a quick win to get to them. IDEC, Honorable Chair and members, arrested the members of crime intelligence literally in the same month. I don't know how many weeks apart. The very same IDEC had a case of over 90 million rand of ESCOM, if I'm not mistaken. One of the members that are charged is a member of parliament in that case, Mr. Mlev. IDEC summoned the people that they wanted to arrest to appear at the police station in the morning. They arrived at the police station in front of cameras wearing suits. They went to the police station, they made them to be charged, gave their fingers. From there, they drove to court. They appeared before the magistrate. Their court granted them bail. They paid their bail. The same evening, they were at home with their families for 90 million rand. The same institution IDEC. How is it possible that they are going to wait for Khumalo at the airport for having been part of the panel to appoint someone who's going to earn a salary of R1 million per year? But they wait for that person at the airport and arrest that person. So what Advocate Johnson will come and explain, justify the two that happened under her watch. I will argue that the ones that were charging Brian Leaf and them, honorable members there, they were respecting them, despite the seriousness of the charge of 90 million rand. But the one of Khumalo, they were not respecting them because the project was not this promotion of this girl. The project is stopping that operation in Gauteng. So, in twofold, Chair, stopping the operation in Gauteng and disrupting the reforms that have been introduced at crime intelligence.
So, your evidence is, or you allege, that the arrest of Khumalo was to stop the operation in Gauteng. It wasn't designed.
And the reforms at crime intelligence.
The reforms.
Yes.
So you don't have a problem with...
It's coincidentally, Chair, I'm sorry, members, that the very same husband of the very same head of IDEC works in the same crime intelligence. But you can continue.
So I don't hear you saying that the arrest of Khumalo had anything to do with the political killings task team.
Honorable Chair, I've said it before and I'm saying it again. The minister signs this letter on a short notice like this, and there's these discussions that are happening, and then realize, as we're putting these dots together, that the political killings task team was a missed target. They were under impression that it is the political task team that is investigating these cases in Pretoria, in Gauteng. But they were wrong. So they hit the wrong target.
Well, because the political task team, as we know, and you can confirm it, is still in existence and has been budgeted for until, I think, next year, May, March 2026.
That's correct.
So certainly the minister or Minister Mkhwanazi has not succeeded in stopping its work.
Honorable Chair and members, I said earlier, Minister Mkhwanazi, the one that I met when I was with Mr. Nkabinde in his own house, is not the one that drafted this letter. I can bet my mind on it. They made him sign something that he didn't know. Unfortunately, he never afforded me an opportunity to warn him about it. Had he done that, he would have realized what he's getting himself into.
Well, we also know, and of course, the National Commissioner will come here and also testify, and has testified in another forum. But we also know that there clearly was no objection to the directive given on the 31st of December. In fact, there appears to have been some acquiescence at the very least, because the directive was given, and on the 5th of March, here in Parliament, the project leader of that team makes a presentation and talks about a winding down or winding up, if you call it, of this team. It's repeated in a presentation the next day in front of the minister on the 6th of March. And then again on the 27th, we know from General Masimola, and I can tell you this because that's what he said under oath, there were some disagreements with the minister. But it certainly didn't, because the minister appeared still to insist that it must be immediate. But nevertheless, the plan was a phasing out of this team. So from what we gather, the minister didn't, he certainly never got his way about what this letter said, the immediate disestablishment of the PT, despite Khumalo's arrest.
Yeah, no, that's correct, Honourable Chair. The minister obviously did not get his way around this, but I must indicate that what you're saying is correct. From what I heard when the National Commission appeared before the Madlanga Commission, that and actually before that, I got to hear that there were meetings that had taken place on the 6th of March, and subsequent to that, another meeting later, where they were making these proposals, which I had seen when they were presenting. I was upset, I must say that. Although I could not challenge it, because if it's a National Commission takes a decision, let's disagree with this. Who am I? I account to the National Commission. National Commission is a trained police officer. So if it breaks the law, knowing he's breaking the law, it means he has to account for it on his own, at his own platform. But in this case, I was making noise because for me, there was a directive to shut down a unit working in my province. And nobody talks to me about it. So I kept on asking the National Commission, did you authorize this thing? And he said, no, he never did. But as a policeman, I couldn't take his words. I wanted under oath, on paper, in black and white, to say that. He gave that to me, I think on the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, Honourable Chair, members, in a statement under oath, where he said he never authorized Jarrus Bia to take these dockets to Pretoria. He never authorized this and that and that and that. From there, then I knew that I've got a criminal case going.
That was on the 4th of July.
That was before my press briefing.
Sorry, General?
It was before my press briefing. I already had the National Commissioner's
the 4th of July.
affidavit under oath that says he did not authorize this thing.
And we have that affidavit?
So that is in a criminal case docket that you're talking about today. Because then all these people that played a role in shutting down my investigation, that which I warned about on the 2nd of July, it's been investigated now. So I do hope that pretty soon we're going to effect arrest and we're going to be in court.
And what is the charge there? Defeating the ends of justice?
That's the main one. There's a collusion to defeat the ends of justice from the evidence that has been uncovered.
And that's based on an affidavit that's in the docket?
Yeah, because I needed to have a point of departure. National Commissioner tell me, did you authorize this thing, yes or no? He says, I didn't. I said, write it down. There was a delay in him giving that. A delay. Eventually, he said to me, okay, here's it. So when he did that, then I knew that, okay, someone will have to then go to court and explain why this. So we started there with investigation. Statements of Khumalo, statement of Sentumule, all the people that played the part except CB and them. We did not take statement from them. The team is investigating further. The investigation is ongoing as we speak. I can't talk in details on it.
So who's conducting the investigation? Crime intelligence or?
No, it's the detectives in KZN.
The detectives?
There's a KZN docket. I'm not part of it. I'm a complainant. I gave my statement and I complained, and they started collating all these things and putting these pieces together. As a complainant, obviously, they update me. The DPP gave me an update about 2 weeks ago about the status of the investigation, and I'm quite pleased with how they are moving with the investigation. I guess it's going to be a landmark case that we're going to have in court.
Sounds like it.
It will be.
You were the complainant,
I am a complainant.
and you got the National Commissioner to depose to an affidavit.
He's my witness.
He's your star witness.
Yeah.
I think a bit late. That's why we're just trying to some levity. Sorry, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members. So, just to rewind to early January, your erstwhile friend Gabinde tells you these things. But he's no longer your friend. On the 3rd, he even records your conversation with him. He places things on social media that gets you into trouble. When did you phone the National Commissioner about this directive, or did he phone you?
I did call him immediately after learning of this letter. I called him, he was on leave, and I asked him, I beg your pardon?
On the 2nd of January.
I can't remember exactly the date when I called him, but almost immediately after learning of the letter, I contacted him to ask him about this thing. He was surprised as well.
Apart from being surprised, did he say he's not going to do anything about it, or what did he say about it?
Yeah, well, he was going to attend to it when he's back from leave because he was still on leave, so he didn't want to engage on this much.
No, he went on leave. Sorry. The National Commissioner went on leave on the 30th of December 2024, and he returned to office, I think, on the 14th of January 2025. So in that period, there would have been an acting National Commissioner.
That is correct.
Who was that person?
Lieutenant General Musikidi. Lieutenant General Musikidi.
And I take it this is how these things work, that when you're acting in a position, you assume the same authority and powers of the person who's appointed in that position.
Yeah, yes. The National Commission will appoint a person, and that means he's delegated the responsibility of being a National Commissioner at the time.
Now, Lieutenant General Sabia will say that, and I think it's common cause that there was an email from the Office of the National Commissioner. There was an email which he says directed or instructed him to give effect to the minister's directive. Were you aware of that? Do you know about that?
Honorable Chair, honorable members, on the 6th of July, I addressed the nation about what was happening. Charles Bia was enjoying the holiday at Devon, July in Devon. And on the same day, he was on television where he made a lot of remarks, which I appreciated because he spoke without thinking. So I hope those what he had said today are going to be interrogated when he appears here. Because he started making allegations. That couple of weeks later, the National Commissioner was also on television where he denied that which RSB had said. So it's between them. They shouldn't have closed down the PKTT. I was not going to be bothered. But I was minding my business in KZ, and they closed the unit in the province. So that made me to start asking questions until I ended up knowing what's happening in Gauteng. If they didn't close the unit, I was not going to know what's happening in Gauteng. But thanks that they brought it to my attention.
Because you were told, you weren't aware of it at the time, because you were told, and you now know Sabia writes letters to the heads of various sections On the 17th of January, he writes another letter on the 4th of February, instructing the two divisions, and Khumalo. I think that is where he instructs Khumalo about those dockets. You weren't aware of those letters?
No, I was not aware initially, but through the investigation, the criminal investigation, and I became aware because they had to produce those. Khumalo had to produce a justification why he decided to take the dockets away from KZN.
Now, we know from the minister's letter that it's on page 79 of NSM 5, the minister says to the National Commissioner, I therefore direct, this is in the last paragraph, I therefore direct that the police be disestablished immediately. Further, a preliminary report in this regard be submitted to the minister by the 20th of January 2025. The final and closing report must be submitted to the Ministry Management Executive Committee meeting late January 2025, the date of which will be communicated as soon as possible. Now, you also know by now that the National Commissioner submitted a report, I think it was on the 22nd of January 2025. You're now aware of that?
Yeah, well, I became aware as the investigation unfolding and some of these things became a public knowledge, yes.
Yeah. And I speak under correction, but that report doesn't also take exception or make objection to the minister's directive to say, no, hold it. Can you tell me why I must abide or comply with this instruction? You're not authorized to issue such an instruction. This is an operational matter that falls within my domain. You're now crossing the line.
Yeah, well, Mkhwanazi is not the same as Masemola. So clearly, how I respond to things, Jara Masemola might not do the same. So I guess maybe it will be an opportunity for the ad hoc committee to invite him to come and sit here and explain why he did what he did. But I cannot talk on those correspondences.
An interesting question. I must say, because I only thought of it now. Did General Masemola consult you or confer with you or Lieutenant General Khumalo before he submitted his report to the minister on the 22nd of January?
The only first time I got to learn that from the date of this letter, 31st of when on the 2nd, when I became aware, 2nd of January 2025, when I spoke to the National Commission asking him about this, and he was still on leave, up until we appeared before the Portfolio Committee on the 5th of March, I did not know that there were meetings in between that period. The 2nd of January and 31st and the 5th of March. I'm not aware. Nobody told me there were meetings there. And nobody told me that there were meetings subsequent to that, the 6th of March and other meetings that took place. Nobody told me. I only became aware about these meetings after getting a sworn statement from the National Commission that is not part of the spending of the trusting. So when I got that and then went back into the PKTT and say, I need statements on who told you to take the dockets away. So that value chain that started producing these things, that's when I became aware that there were even meetings that had met to propose this establishment in this fashion. So I was not part of it, so I never knew about it until such time that the investigations were starting.
So it sounds to me like before the 31st of December and the minister issues his directive that the team must be disestablished. And after the 31st of December 2024, going into 25, you were also not engaged by the National Commissioner.
That is correct. The likelihood is that if the 6th of March reached an agreement and there was no follow-up meeting, that implementation plan was going to be signed off, sealed, and implemented. We wouldn't be here today. But there was a disagreement on the follow-up meeting from what I gather, which led into that proposal be thrown out. Which then I think subsequent to then, maybe the National Commission felt that it's important and to give me a statement. And then I started doing what I did. But prior to that, had the 6th of March meeting agreed and there was no follow-up meeting, perhaps we wouldn't be here today.
Sorry, General. So when you ask General Masemola for an affidavit and he gives it to you on the 4th, is he aware that you are going to hold your media briefing on the 6th?
I told him after that I'm going to have a press briefing on the 6th, over the weekend. I didn't say it, I didn't give him the date. I said I'm going to have a press briefing over the weekend to talk about the work of the political clearance task team. Honorable Chair and members, maybe let me add, and I said earlier, well, although we are talking about some of the things that might not be in the statement, but you as SC is asking me questions about the meetings that were taking place in my absence and the posture maybe the National Commission had in handling the minister's directive. I was upset in January about the posture of the National Commission on this minister's directive. What makes me unhappy is because as a leader of the police, when you're a leader, you're a commander, it's your job to look after your members, their well-being. You provide them resources, you give them support on anything else so that they can go out there and face the bullet and be able to fight and defend and make you look good as a commander. So, but when it's time for them to be rewarded, as a good commander, you must reward them. If you promise to reward them, reward them. But if you promise to reward them and you turn around and you don't reward them, you lose respect from those members, you demoralize them. What had transpired last year was that when this team had briefed the president of the country at the protocol lounge in Durban at the airport, updating the president even about the work that they are doing in Eastern Cape, the president was complimentary of the members that they are doing a very good job. Subsequent to that, the National Commission had made some commitment that these members are going to be rewarded during the Excellence Awards that we're going to sit on the 26th of January, 2025, at the ICC in Durban. And the members went out to go and buy themselves nice clothes to look good so they can stand in front of their fellow colleagues to be rewarded, given good certificates for good performance and so forth. But on almost the eve of that Excellence Awards, because of this letter, then the minister did not want, I believe, the National Commission did not want to upset the minister, because the minister was going to be the functionary on Excellence Award.
The minister was there and the National Commissioner was there.
Yeah, on the Excellence Award.
That's at the awards day, is it 22nd or 28th of January?
The 26th of January.
26th.
So then suddenly, the members' nomination was withdrawn. The certification of these members was cancelled. On the eve of the event, they were told, you're not going to be rewarded anything. Honorable Chair and members, you see the performance of this team. It is, I think it's annexed here on my document about the work they've done. I've presented it on my statement right at the beginning, starting from NSM